Hello, horses post-apocalyptia to the Midnight Mystery Science Theater.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is James Vermont, Skybolt, over here.
We have another special, unique thing we're doing tonight. Or this morning, depending on where you are in the world.
Because, you know, we're special, unique people.
Yeah.
Yes. It's one of the, this is going to be one of those cases where it's like the stable tech thing of we used one podcast to just deal with our stable tech shit in like as much detail as possible. And now this is going to be us dealing with our Bethesda shit in as much detail as possible.
We're Sanguinem Luna watching is our only watcher right now. Oh, okay, we got two. Sweet.
Yeah, there's why the six.
And this will be especially fun if you can't tell from the screens. I tried to make it explanatory, but it's a bit busy. So what we're doing is we're going to watch back-to-back the Bethesda and then the new Fallout 76 NoClip documentaries. And this should be really fun because James actually has a much deeper knowledge of classic Bethesda than I do, so he can give some good rants on that. And I'll provide the color commentary.
Yeah, Vermont had to learn more about classic Bethesda stuff, not just from watching this documentary, but also from researching their history of tearing into the Fallout games. I joke, you know, Fallout 3 was good. I've been playing through it again recently. It is a genuinely good Fallout game. It's just a shame that, you know, they forgot how to make more good games.
No, I know. I want to start another Fallout 3 playthrough too. I was thinking, what I've been doing, honestly, and I guess it's kind of cross-promotion, or not cross-promotion, but I discovered that Oxhorn YouTube channel, the guy that goes through, like, all the lore of, like, the entire Fallout series, and it's very well done, and it's helped pass the time at work, so I can't help but say, like, you know, that's enjoyable. So, anyway, I was watching some of his Fallout 3 videos, and I'm like, oh, damn, I forgot about that. I gotta go play that again sometime soon. So,
alrighty, Needle is apparently going to be joined. There she is!
Oh my
Yay!
God.
We wanted to buy time for you to arrive, so we were just bullshitting around before we actually started watching the documentary.
Yeah, that's what we were doing.
I've been making cat toys all day.
That's
What?
adorable.
Yeah, I've been making cat toys all day, and to sell like on Etsy just for a little bit of extra money to pay bills and
Oh, yeah.
stuff. And it's just cool enough now that I could stuff them because I didn't want to stuff them in the house with the catnip.
Oh, smart.
So I go outside and I stuff a couple of the toys so I can get some like promo pictures.
Of the kitty weed.
Right? So I stuff a couple of them that didn't come out the way that I wanted to. They just kind of were eh. So I stuffed them outside and I gave them to the cats and I took a bunch of pictures, and by a bunch I mean 400.
Oh my gosh.
I learned that my phone has the burst feature the hard way.
Wow.
So I took a ton of pictures of my cats, and as soon as I finished, like, I held my hand out to them that had been stuffing the toys, and they just looked at me like, whoa. And then as soon as I gave it to them, they just dove and devoured the toys. Like, they're holding up really well, which is my initial reason for giving them the toys. But, you know, I'm going to hope I can sell a couple of them online and do the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll probably post some pictures in the cute chat because they're mauling cat toys that are in the shape of cat heads. That's cute, right?
Yeah. No, it's good. I've been forced to be more active in Discord, which is good. I should have been a year ago, but yeah, now we're playing more. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I've noticed Skybolt's primary contribution to the Discord channel is jumping into the booty barn to leave weird pictures or just to like sort of make fun of people.
It's never porn though. It's always like just adorable pictures of reactions to what's in the booty barn.
I pop in there and I'm like, what the fuck are you all doing? You're weird.
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah, so I jump in there just to make sure that no one's, like, you know, breaking the rules or doing anything illegal. And then I come across the Skyball posts,
Hell yeah.
which are always just shit posting.
Hell yeah.
I feel like I'm Ross with the booty barn. Always watching. Always watching.
Quick, someone please draw crossover art between Needle and Roz.
Oh my
please. Wait, can we hire Lucas to do that? I feel like that would be hilarious.
Oh shit, does that mean that makes you Wazowski and I'm dibs on Sullivan then?
No, dude, you're not Sully, you're Randall.
Ah shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Ah, shit.
Well, alright then, Wazowski.
Dad,
Looks
it's
like
the winds of change.
the winds of change. Yeah.
The winds of change. God, I love that film.
Oh, I want to put it out there too. I feel like Monsters University is a little bit underrated. I know it was kind of unnecessary, but it was fun. It's like a TV movie.
It's not like it's more the kind of thing that you'd expect from like a shitty DreamWorks movie, like not a shitty Pixar movie. That's kind of where I look at it.
It's kind of what I expected going into it, I guess. I went into it with minimal like input.
I didn't expect much from it, but like to sort of set the scene, I rewatched Inside Out like 2 days ago, and that was so, you know, there's peak Pixar, and so now I'm thinking about Monsters University, like this is what they can do. This is what they sometimes do. Like,
well, here's the problem with Pixar is their very first sequel, Toy Story 2, is arguably one of their top 3 movies. So it's like,
100%.
That's the problem, and then every sequel after that just falls from grace. So,
I mean, Toy Story 3 was still good, and Toy Story 2 doesn't fall into my personal top 3, but it's still pretty damn high.
It doesn't for me either, but as far as the Toy Story series goes, that's the peak, I think. Toy Story 3 was almost like too shake and baked, in my opinion.
Yeah. For me, it's Wall-E, Inside Out, and just the first 15 minutes of Up.
Wall-E would probably be my number 2. I say Incredibles, Wall-E, and I don't know what number 3 would be.
I think kind of the problem that I have with that I've noticed with Pixar is they're actually much better at short films than they are at features. Like if you like even Wall-E, which is my favorite Pixar film, the first half an hour is leagues better than the rest of the film, where it's just Wall-E, like sort of Wall-E and Eva having a dialogueless romance in this trashed Earth. I would, if the rest of the film was just set on Earth and just between those two, I'd have been so fine with that.
I mean, yeah, the Wall-E Eva like love story, that's the core of the movie. You don't have Wall-E without that.
I mean, there was some cool stuff when he went out into space and with the humans, but like the best part of a Pixar movie is usually like they do these really great isolated chunks.
Yeah. Those are like the emotional super core moments.
Guy.
Yeah.
Let me in the rabbit, asshole.
It's an invite. You just click the link.
I did, and it said, thanks, let Skylar know you're here.
Oh, God. Okay.
Immature Needle voice is fantastic.
Is it?
Yes, big fan.
We gotta do another, our other new series, one of those again. That was fun. What the fick? What the fick?
Yeah, what the fick?
That was so fun.
Oh, god damn. Well, I think one of the best ones, it's a shame you missed it, Needle, was the one that Sky read in his DWK voice was fucking fantastic, if only because whoever the writer of that fic was clearly wrote it with that kind of voice in mind, like with the laid-back Cali beach bum kind of vibe.
Yeah, and James picked the accent out of like random, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
fuck
totally
it.
random.
Yeah, and suddenly the story just fit, totally unplanned whatsoever. I swear to God. I'm super.
I love
super
those
legit
moments.
serious. Oh God. Well, Needle, you understand what we're doing here tonight, don't you?
We're watching stupid things.
We're watching the NoClip documentaries, and so it's going to be James bitching about Bethesda Game Studios for an hour, and then it'll be me bitching about Fallout 76 for an hour.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect.
See, on the bright side, I will be happy to compliment NoClip because the NoClip documentaries are always fantastic.
And see, yeah, so James is going into someone who's watched them, and I'm going into completely fresh, so it should be interesting.
And Needle's going in just being 100% done with both of our bullshit.
Yeah, I'm just going to get a gif of rolling eyes and just put it in the corner the whole time, and just leave that there.
I need a gif of that I could just click, and anytime I click it, the eyes roll.
Yeah, have Lucas do that
God.
with the starlight glimmer with the coffee cup, and then just have those eyes roll. That's perfect.
Oh my God, can we? Hey, Linux Pony, are you watching this? If you're watching this, can you make a phone app, which is basically just Needle, but every time but with a button, every time you press it, she rolls her eyes and says something mean. Can we make that an app?
How long you have to record? Like,
how
just,
long?
Just so you have enough things to tap. Like,
it'd just be a quote, and then it'll link to where she says that in a video somewhere, and then they go to our content. That's perfect for advertising.
The Needle Stitch app.
Oh my gosh. And it'll be...
This is how we advertise. At one of our voice actresses just bitches about everything, and then we turn it into an app. It's great.
And then
so I think what you actually...
microtransactions where you can, like, change her expression or add...
So actually, we shouldn't call it the Needle Stitch app. We should call it the Needle Bitch app.
Oh!
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That pun has been sitting in my head for God knows how long, and I have genuinely just been waiting for a time to use it where it wouldn't be horrifyingly offensive and rude.
Tonight's gonna be a good night. I can tell already. It's
all right.
It's too tempting of a pun. Okay, I think that's a perfect time to start.
My feelings are hurt. I'm telling Lucas.
Display capture up.
No, because if you tell Lucas, then he'll realize the pun and he's gonna then use it.
He'll just laugh under his breath and be like, "No, he doesn't mean it. He's just being silly." And then later on, he'll be like,
"Oh my God, is that his actual voice?" I know we've got recordings of it, but I haven't actually listened to them.
He has a very nice, naturally deep timbre voice, actually.
Ooh, I need to go.
So good.
Your boyfriend.
It was actually a problem because I cast him for something, and I'm like, okay, do this, and he did something, and I'm like, just do this, but like in your normal voice, but you're like 20 years older. And then he did, and I'm like, yes, that's perfect. Stop trying.
I need to go listen to that then.
It's pretty good.
That sounds very attractive.
He needs a better microphone with more low end, in my opinion. But anyway, gotta know your skills. Okay.
You got a better microphone than I do.
Okay, so are you guys all ready? You got your rabbits up?
Let's do this.
Okay.
I'm very upset with Vermont.
I mean, that's like...
I told Vermont. I said, Lucas, Vermont called me Needle Bitch. I'm not going to Disney. I need to go to Africa now.
What did he say?
He said, babe, we're not going to Disneyland anymore. I need to go to Africa.
Yeah, that's to finance the affair that he's been having with me.
You know, apparently it's more than just you.
Pardon?
I said, apparently it's more than just you.
Oh, who else?
Our friend Star.
Yeah.
I hung out with him a couple weekends ago, right? And we went to, what the hell? Why is this gone? Why am I locked out of the rabbit again?
Shit.
Shit. Anyway, and so we went to Seattle to hang out with some buddies. And on our way back, we had to crash at a hotel because it was a long drive. And I snuggled him, and I told Lucas, I was like, I snuggled Star, and he goes, damn it, babe, I was supposed to get it in first.
Damn. You know what they say, first past the post.
Alrighty then, let's get started.
I think so. We do have over 2 hours of documentary to go.
Why is this not letting me in?
Are you serious?
Wait, still not letting you in?
Okay, there
we go. There we go. Neil's in.
Okay, these two
Alright.
might be dead profiles. Might. But I'll leave them there for now.
Yeah, maybe just leave them there just in case.
Just in case.
It's one of those cases where it's working. Don't blow on it.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, everyone. Here we go. Oh, just the volume where it worked out well last time, so hopefully we'll get this good.
How awesome is that entrance lobby though?
Oh yeah. I mean, how can you not decorate? Oh, I love it. Oh, the Mr. Handy.
So I think this is cheating because they're using the they're using Ion Sir's music to tug at our heartstrings.
That is kind of funny, yeah.
So I played Daggerfall first. And
They know
then
where the money
got
is.
hooked and started playing all the other Bethesda games. But Arena at the time, I was like, oh, I don't know, that game was so goofy. I don't think I could get into that.
You know, after we finished Redguard, the whole team, the whole entire company went
I'm gonna have to
down.
pause real quick. James, you might have to put in headphones because we're getting an echo.
I'm wearing headphones.
Are you really?
Yes.
Nettle?
That's not coming. I think that's coming from Nerdle Stitch.
Nettle.
I think she's the one who's also clicking the board button.
We might need some headphones.
I could just press push to talk.
Okay.
Because I'm literally, like, playing out of my television. There's no headphones.
Okay, that's fine.
Give me a second. Let me just turn on push to chat.
It's just it would be a very long night for everyone if we had the echo.
You know what? You guys are gonna be talking, so whatever.
I know. Okay, so first reaction from 45 seconds as we're looking at this nice game designer man. James, have you played Daggerfall? What is Daggerfall?
So I actually haven't played Daggerfall. Like I've tried to go through on some of the older Bethesda games, but they haven't necessarily aged well. And I'm usually okay with playing fairly aged games. You know, I jam Baldur's Gate on my phone, but Daggerfall takes it to a whole different level of holy fuck, this is old. So it's a shame. But I've heard it. The one big thing is that it is massive. Like it is one of the largest video game maps ever made.
Oh damn! Really?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it
No,
an
it's-
RTS or like not oblique? What do they call that?
Oh no, it's the
Isometric?
same. No. It's the same. It's first person, just like all the other Bethesda games. Like they've.
Oh really?
One of the things that I will compliment Bethesda on is they took they had their style and they have maintained it and improved on it over the years. Rather, like they've been very, very consistent on what the Bethesda style of an RPG is. It's only necessarily Fallout 4 where that's become
I did
problematic.
it. Now I'm pushed to talk.
And they've. It's only like Fallout 4 where it's become problematic, where they've started to take too many cues from BioWare rather than their own style of RPG.
Awesome.
Real talk, if you guys are gonna pause it and then talk about this is gonna be a very long night.
We're not gonna pause it to talk. We just had to do that to fix your audio. Are you ready to go?
My audio is fine.
I know it is.
Upstairs
Okay.
in the basement, and we would all package the games up to be shipped out, and that was sort of how things worked back then.
A girl. We've got a daughter, Catherine.
We've got a daughter, Catherine.
I really like. It's one of those things where.
Gun
Oh.
combat from the ground up. Something
Yeah.
this company hadn't done since the Terminator games. And so
Terminator
that was a big thing.
games?
And we knew with
Yeah,
gun combat,
Bethesda made Terminator
being
game.
combat spaces,
Huh.
and that meant designers.
I bet
Yeah,
there was
one of them
nobody
was-
But I
remembers
didn't
that.
want to tell him, yeah, I'm actually taking
I played an
pictures
SNES
so I can
game
blow
called
it up in a
Terminator
video
versus
game,
RoboCop.
Which is exactly what I was about to do.
Mm.
We have a lot of takes on
Problems in front of you.
Yes.
If you
It's
listen to the pretty music, you'll forget about our shitty storylines.
Exactly. I mean, that's how Bungie have been doing this for years.
yeah, essentially. Sorry, I should point out my internet's been kind of fucked lately, so hopefully we don't lose the stream. So FYI, everyone. shit.
Pegasus is here. Hi, Pegasus.
Are we talking about important things in here, or
Hell
what's
yeah.
We're
Who the
watching
fuck is
a
it?
Fallout documentary.
Oh shit, it's Pegasus.
happening?
Yay, it's the podcast.
I should
We're
probably.
watching.
Yeah, it's the second rabbit clip link there. I'll
Okay.
let you in if you want to join us.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. I didn't realize I was walking into something so formal.
Hell
I
yeah.
guess.
It's not formal.
Hello, friends,
Vermont
and
is
welcome
just
to
an
Rockville,
asshole.
Maryland,
He
home of
called me
Bethesda
needle
Game
bitch.
Studios, creators of
Oh, wow.
Elder Scrolls
That's
series, and
cold.
proud adoptive parents.
Thank you.
If you've watched our documentaries in the past, you know we
Okay,
have
wait,
talked to
okay.
developers and
So
interview
it's
them
the
about
second
games they've
thing.
made.
Wait,
It's the
okay.
second-
Okay.
Now, we
Second
haven't
link.
had the
Yeah.
opportunity
I can
to
log in with
talk to a
Facebook.
team
It might show
while
my
the
name,
sausage is being
my
made.
real name.
That's why we're here.
I hope it
to
doesn't.
talk to
It
the
probably
people
will.
behind Fallout
I know your real
76.
name.
They're not talking
I know
about
you-
anything
Games
important,
design
luckily. It's
and
just
find out about the challenges
No, they're
bullshit
just
about them
interesting.
being in
during
Maryland.
the game's development.
Woo, Maryland!
Usually
Yeah!
concept.
Studio interviewing everyone we could.
The bad side of
Design,
DC,
art,
hell yeah!
animation, QA, marketing, and more. All to try to
Everybody knows
capture
that Maryland's
how
the place to
Bethesda
be
Game
at this time of
Studios
year.
make their games. So naturally, that also involves a lot of looking back.
Come on.
Many of the folks working on games here at
Oh my god, it looks like a college
on their older
classroom.
games too.
Oh,
I'm
there's
having
K-Cat.
flashbacks.
There's K-Cat. She was on.
Oblivion.
Was she
K-Cat
really?
was on screen.
Fantastic.
Even
Yeah.
Arena. Games that have each in their
Wait,
own
what?
way contributed
God,
to the
Howard.
story of Bethesda Game Studios.
That's not
See-
K-Cat.
Yes, he is.
Yes,
But before we
yes,
dive
yes,
into the
yes.
studio's
It's K-Cat.
exciting
This
future,
is
we decided to
Schrodinger's
spend some time
horse,
looking
remember?
back.
Where
We've got
until
quite a lot
proven
of grand
otherwise,
poker
we
here, folks,
assume
but
that
as it
Todd
turns
Howard
out,
is
a lot of
K-Cat.
Bethesda's history
Yeah, we once
happened
asked.
rather
We once
than
asked her,
unsuspecting-looking
and she
offices
didn't
behind
respond.
She could always send us proof. She hasn't yet, so that's Todd. That's what we assume. Because it's funnier that way.
We asked her if she was K-Cat, and her response was, I'm gonna make a public post, and you can take whatever you want from that.
I got Wayne Gretzky Hockey 3 for Christmas.
Wayne
from my
Gretzky's
then
hockey.
girlfriend, now my wife. And I looked at
I
the
actually
app and the
We should
really-
have done this in a
Oh
more
my God.
private
I was like,
chat,
oh, these
because
could
now
be
everybody's gonna
Terminator
come in and it's gonna cause a
as
lot of
well.
lag.
So I was drive by the office. And I went
well,
to
baby,
I actually
Mary in
I actually
Virginia.
really like the sound
This
Todd
office
Howard's
was on
voice.
my
It's
way.
like,
So it's right off. We're right off at 270.
yeah,
This is the.
Yeah,
I dig his voice.
Yeah, no,
You know,
he's
it
got a
was Martin Luther
solid,
King
like,
Day.
second tenor.
Must have been 93.
Yeah,
And I
it's got a
drove
nice
into-
little
I
purr
knocked
at
on
the,
door, I came in,
on the
well,
bottom
most people
end.
weren't here. It was a holiday.
yeah.
Someone come out and met me, like,
That
"Hey,
fry.
Lee, what do you want?" And I was like, "I love your games. I want to work here."
Almost like you would believe
And
his
it was
sweet
when there
little
was an opening,
lies.
they finally said, "Hey, I jumped. This is where I wanted to be."
How big was the company then?
Oh, 20.
I'm not sure how I feel about this
the
history where he got into
development
Bethesda
staff
because of fucking sports games.
Maybe 12.
That's
And
very
because he
perturbing.
asked.
So this is my.
I think that's the other funny thing where he just like, where he was like, hey, I want to work here. And they were like, okay, sure.
God damn, I miss
Same
the
building.
80s. Those
right
were the
downstairs.
days.
You came in. That's where I came in.
Right now it's like, do you have a degree, 25 years experience, and the blood of a virgin?
Yeah.
We'll put you on a short list.
The original Bethesda Softworks
Oh
was
my
founded
gosh,
in
that logo.
1986 by entrepreneur and software developer Christopher Weaver.
That
And after the time
hair.
of Bethesda, where it was founded, the studio developed and self-published a variety of games. Everything from football game Gridiron to early hockey games, and even some Terminator spin-offs. One of Todd's
I
first
just checked the chat. It's all
responsibilities
press
once he
F for
joined the
stream
team
from a few
was to
minutes
port
ago.
a CD-ROM version of a role-playing game that had been made internally. Ted Peterson, Julian LaFay, and
Oh my
Julian
God,
Waxman
those
were
visuals
spearheading the
though.
project. A game that would take the first-person dungeon crawling of 1992's Wizardry 7 and evolve it
Oh, and
using more
Krellak's in
modern
here.
3D
Goku
graphics
Krellak.
techniques. That game
told
had been
you.
originally conceptualized
Yeah,
as an
Needle
anime
told
combat
us,
game,
and we ignored
but
her.
quickly
This is the
grew
East Corp
into
way.
something much, much larger.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man.
I want you
All right,
to know
Daniel, the Scrolls Arena.
I think I found out about it because I worked at a software store at the time.
Oh, so I get it. So Elder Scrolls started out as like it was just another Doom clone, but it was medieval and shit.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Interesting.
A lot of their sort of with
Maybe
the
it was the box art. I'm sure that was part of it.
they did a really,
There's
really
a lot
good
of
job
literature
of adapting the
about
formula,
how
though.
it's, I don't know if the term.
I mean, yeah, it is like the
But how
progenitor.
it's this
It's
limitless thing,
the
and you can do
first,
this
you
and
know,
do that, and
amoeba that
that's not
crawl
great.
out of the
You know,
swamp or
just
whatever.
Make my own
Yeah, whilst simultaneously the rest of Western RPGs were being made as isometrics, like with what Interplay was doing with BioWare and
I just want to buy a house and chill. That's all I want to do.
Wasteland, Fallout, Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale.
I remember that too. I saw Arena in, the computer game store. I was like, looked at
the Arena cover. Like,
I don't know if we should leave that in this, but like, so I played Daggerfall.
What the fuck is Arena's cover?
Started playing all the other Bethesda games, but Arena at the time I was like, oh, I don't know, that cover's so goofy. I don't think I could.
That's good marketing.
That clothing.
Hell yeah.
There's no clothing on that woman.
Armor plus 10.
That is bad, even by video game standards.
Well, I mean, when you shoot, you're gonna aim for, very specific patches. So that's all you gotta do.
Yeah, but she's not actually wearing
armor. Or the nipple.
It's like
it's mithril or something.
It's mithril.
Mithril bikini.
Adamantite.
Mithril on her nipples.
Hell yeah.
Mithril is blue, not black.
Wherever I want.
Well, Elder Scrolls.
True. This is true.
Dragon Blast.
Hey, it could be Barrows or Barrows, however you prefer.
It has the time warp.
RuneScape represent.
By the time Todd had finished his work on the CD-ROM,
RuneScape was that was an original MMO,
already
right?
working
old school stuff like.
I mean, okay, so Classic came out. Oh, I don't even know, like 2000.
Almost as many Terminator games.
Maybe 2000. It was 2001 at least. Yeah, it's one of those it's one of the OG MMOs. But everybody remembers RuneScape 2, which came out in 2004, which was like.
I remember RuneScape.
Oh yeah, I still play it.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
And the game
did only pop into
large sprawling levels.
Well, they recently remade the game in RuneScape 07, which is basically they took the entire server like legacy save of the original server from 2007, and they just made a whole bunch of new servers for it. So basically, there's an entire version of the game that's stuck with the game mechanics from 2007, which is actually really cool.
Because of the state of the project.
Interesting. So they're saying that they already, from the Terminator games, where they were in future Terminator Wasteland, they already started liking the idea of bombed out
all the
cities.
creatures that a lot of them was.
The poster. There's a lot of I like the similarities between the.
It just felt bigger.
Also, I really love the fact that Todd brings up there about the fact that the team was so small that he did the sound effects for like the dudes being stabbed, like with the.
Oh, that's funny.
It's those sort of things that sort of bring me back to the sort of state where we are now, where it's like, oh, we need sound effects. Grab the nearest person, come make sounds like you're being punched in the face. Doesn't matter what department you are, just send me sounds that go.
Literally, yeah. Literally, I was working with one of my bandmates who's the guitarist, and I was just like, hey. So I'm working on this game, and I need like somebody being stabbed. So he was literally just like that's all he did into his mic, and it was great, and it worked really well.
Whatever else. So when you finally do,
I just had to do some Foley for one of our things too. That turned out pretty well.
Without seeing a map of it, you get this whole big reveal, and the music changes all the first time. You have suddenly it's all those.
I love the fact that Bethesda, they've been using the same trick for years and years, where they've
look at the two characters.
Like they start you off in a dungeon so that you can feel confined, and then feel rewarded when you go outside and see how big the world is.
Hell yeah, man! Classical storytelling, you can't beat it.
Awesome.
That beats realism.
A lot
every
of the world
time.
stuff stays the same.
Yeah.
And has a very sophisticated.
But it kind of works.
Despite how it might express itself if you go back and play it. But it mostly becomes.
If you want to get all Freudian, it's like birth. It's like you finally reach the world.
I wasn't even going to go that far. I mean, I just would say it's very visceral to go from a confined space to, like, it's just a very human
name and your job title.
Kind of emotion to tap into.
I'm the studio director at Bethesda Game Studios.
All right. You've been here a little while, huh?
I've been here for, it's 18 years.
Okay.
I was one of two people in the marketing department at Bethesda Softworks. This is the old school mom and pop Bethesda Softworks.
Mom and pop.
First thing
so wait, does that make him the mom or him the pop? Which one is Todd Howard?
Okay.
I think he's the pop.
Out.
I'm just going to take
it myself.
Creepy uncle.
Calling up all the press going, please play this game. Please review this game. You know, Todd and I worked on,
again, they're talking about the same sort of thing. I feel where it's like you make something, you just send it out to reviewers, being like, please listen to this and write a review, please.
Try to find it if you
Do
can.
me a favor.
Quit it! I hurt! Blood!
Incredible. I love this.
It's so cheesy.
And back then, the company was so small. We, you know, after we finished Redguard, the whole team, the whole entire company went downstairs into the basement, and we would all package the games up.
Downstairs in the basement, right where they fucking started.
It was a mix of like my love of Prince of Persia and Tomb Raider to come out, like real action adventure mashups. Morrowind had kind of been going, but really not anywhere. It was like in a Daggerfall mix, and then there was Battlespire.
Ugh.
And a lot of the
that is a creepy fetish monster.
Yeah, that was the time in the late 90s
I could
when
see
like
where we got
the
with
sprites
the
were
engine
really
at the time,
creepy
but
looking.
3D was still coming online.
That looks like the kind of thing Crowd would post porn on the booty bomb.
We can make a much more.
I think
Daggerfall's ambition,
that's more of a
Arena's ambition.
Damn.
I can't say anything because that's true.
Personally, I liked the game flow. Like, this is what we should be doing. I like the character system, but like, I wanted Ultima level detail in the world. I want to break the bread, and I want to move the bottles, and I want to do all these things. And Redguard was a little bit of an experiment in like, okay, how detailed of a world can we build? So the way we built the world in Redguard is how we built the world in Morrowind.
Bethesda games are technically more like sandboxes.
The other thing Redguard does at the time, also coming
like
off of
they're about
Daggerfall,
fucking with the tools that Bethesda gives you, not about
It was very kind of
Tolkien.
It had backstory and stuff once you dug into
it has sort
because
of the
had something you
exploring
could
world
look at and
parts
say,
of
oh,
it that
that's
you
a
find in
little bit
open world
more
games, but it feels more like it leans quite heavily into sandbox.
Yeah, you
comes in
have
Redguard.
structures
And
to
then
like
Morrowind
reference, which is better. Yeah, if it's
Right, the
too
scope of
open
Redguard
world.
was too
hard to
safe.
actually watch this
It
thing.
missed a technology.
I mean,
blow.
I'm listening.
Really should have been a
I can do
console
both.
game. It should have been on the PS2.
Yeah.
Redguard did not do very well.
This is great.
It did very
I didn't even know about the Elder Scrolls Redguard
We made
till
some bad
I
decisions. We
till I
made some
watched
games
this
that weren't
originally.
our best stuff, and the company really got very, very small.
Despite the success of the earlier Elder Scrolls games, these spin-offs, Battlespire and Redguard, had struggled at retail and put the company in a precarious financial position. In an effort to avoid bankruptcy,
Yeah, this was
the
a dot-com
organization
bubble even for
restructured.
games.
A new company was formed, ZeniMax Media, which would act as an administrative entity.
I mean, this was a
over
smart
the
move for them,
development and
business and
publishing work.
financial
A few years
perspective,
later,
even if,
publishing
you
and
know,
development were
ZeniMax have
separated.
done some
Bethesda
shitty things.
Softworks became
Yeah,
the
yeah, this is where
publishing
ZeniMax
arm,
starts to
while the
bleed,
development
too.
staff had a new name,
Yeah.
Bethesda Game Studio.
But it
All
was
these
a
entities
smart
would live
move
under
from
the
a
same
business
roof. In fact, they still do today, but only thanks to the incredible success of their next game.
Is it Tomb Raider? I think it's Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Look, the winds of change.
So I've played Morrowind, and this is a game which I really struggle to play. Like, it is hard to get
We
into.
need to do Morrowind.
I'm a little bit bothered by
Do the
their
game that
G4
we're here
TV
to
style
do,
title
and
transitions,
it's
though.
kind of like, this is our last shot. Like, if this one doesn't work, we're not here.
Oh, damn,
I
Morrowind was
think
the breaking point.
The failures
Yeah.
of the previous games made
Which is
Morrowind
impressive considering what it's still
Because that's
considered
where
to
you
be
say,
like the
well,
best
we've
one of
do what we think is right.
best
and
RPGs
where our
ever made. I've heard
audience
some
is.
people call it the best.
Well, before
That
the
we're already in, like,
before
we already
E3,
think
that's
we're
what I
not
was
gonna be
hearing from
here.
the Elder Scrolls side of
So,
Bethland was
let's
like,
just
oh,
make
they
the
gotta go
game
back
that
to
we
like
think we should
Morrowind, you know,
Well, there is a
classical kind
contingent
of
of fans
feel,
out
and I'm
there
like,
who
oh
believe,
god, there's
and
a lot of
I
like
actually
deep
have met a
love
few
there.
even today saying.
Well,
that it's
the
best
big thing
game we've
about
ever
that,
played,
that
it's the
people
best
like
game we've
about
ever made, and it's
Morrowind
been downhill
is
since
that
then.
it's not Morrowind is not a human location. So everything about it feels strange and alien and otherworldly.
Oh,
It
interesting.
was very unique.
Fucking awesome. Like even if you look at it,
Yeah, I
like
think the main
this
idea
doesn't
behind
look
Morrowind
like
was stranger in
like
a
the other
strange
Elder
land.
Scrolls
You
games. It's
are
fucking
in
strange.
an alien
So
world.
wait, what
And so
what
how do we
creatures are
show
in
that?
Morrowind?
We had
Is
a
that
lot of
the
different
cat people
influences,
or
and
the
our-
lizard
the
people?
concept artists who did
No, it's the Dark Elves.
crazy, amazing, weird ideas, and it was.
Oh, hey, it's the things from Mass Effect.
You know, when we borrowed these things, you know, it felt a little bit like
Again,
what would
more
Star Wars
porn
be
that
if
Carly
it
would
was,
post.
You know, a fantasy.
I mean, tentacles are pretty
and then
like
combining
run-of-the-mill
the,
at this
the
point.
culture of Dark
Yeah,
Elves for all these
tentacles.
different
That's pretty
influences and
vanilla.
how
at point.
Yeah,
they
tentac-
giant bug shell shaped
That's true.
elves and
These dark
giant
elves
bug
look like
shells with
draft
armor
one
and
Avatar
lived in
creatures.
this
The cat
essentially
avatars.
desert. how did that shape who they
Skybolt, the
were?
lizard
How did
people
it
are
shape
called
how
the
they built
Argonians, and they
things?
actually
How
live
did
in
it
the
shape the way
hollow
the player
marshes.
got to
Hollow
explore?
marshes.
There we
Good
go.
to know.
I can never remember Elder Scrolls lore. Like I've considered like diving into it, but
giant fungus.
there's so much of it.
Or just
Here's
strange
Krellick.
tiny roots that grow in
Krellick, I really love the
and
tone
so
of
it
your
was doing
mic.
something
Can you just
weird
say
and then
things and let me
playing
just
with the
like
idea of
record it?
scale. Just a little bit like Alice in Wonderland.
It's just, it's very crispy. Like, I like it.
You're crispy.
Crispy.
That's interesting.
Thank you.
So I think things like that stand out a lot. They make the world feel really different.
Pegasus.
Well, we knew we had to do it.
Pega.
The company really wanted to make Morrowind then.
Now you sound like a Pokemon.
It was such
Yeah, I was gonna say
Pega.
Peggy 18.
About 40,
Stop it, both of you.
Microsoft approached us, and they were doing the original.
What's with the fucking doll in the corner? You see
and
that?
it
Was
was
that Elf?
very
No,
PC-like.
I think that was Elf.
Have an RPG, and if you,
I love the fact that they've chosen to film Todd Howard right in front of like all the awards. Like that.
Oh, you know
that's
he
like
chose that spot. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was like some serious.
Can we translate
right
You
there?
want to do some nice outdoor shots, Todd?
Can we do a
No,
console
right here in front of the trophy
that we would
case.
want to
Fuck
play?
you.
I
And
want you to
like
film me in
Morrowind,
front of my
back then, the
goal.
Japanese
All of my
RPGs were
statuettes
whatever you
right
love, the
here.
Final Fantasies. That was what an RPG was. Western RPGs weren't really,
cool.
Oh damn!
Say that.
That's sick
But nobody was
burn.
making them like we would. Like this
Just
is gonna be a
because we didn't
first-person
have the
experience,
Final
it's gonna be an open world,
Fantasies
you're gonna
or
be
the
able to go
Pokies,
wherever you
man.
want.
You know,
Like Morrowind's not
Whatever.
gonna hold your hand at all. You can
I do.
break your
I
game
do think
in
it's kind of
Morrowind.
interesting that they chose to go the direction that
Morrowind
they
literally
went
tells
in,
you what you've
rather
done.
than the rest
You're
of
about to
Western
break your save.
RPGs,
Are you
which
sure
was
you wanna go?
let's do
We
isometric.
go ahead and let you say yes.
yeah,
We let you
isometric
say
is
yes. We
weird.
let
I don't
you
like
break
that
your
look.
game
I mean,
intentionally.
maybe for
That's what's in
RTS
that
it works, but like,
It was
I love
fancy, open
isometric
world.
RPGs.
and-
It's my
and the
favorite
idea
kind,
that you
but
could just
it's a
sort of
very
wander anywhere and doing something very unique at the time of streaming.
like when then they have to like
the
fade through the
NPCs,
walls
how
so you
they
know where the
tried to
hell
make
you
it so
are.
you could
That
ask any
bothers
NPC
me.
any
I'm like,
question,
you know,
which
give
is
me
very
give me
impressive.
Mario 64 cam work
the
even over
ability
this.
to just sort of wander around and do
I think
whatever
one
you
of the
wanted
best
in that game. And I
one of the
remember
best sort of ways
the
of
first
it
time I
that they
came
did was
across
Larian
the
Studios
ruins
did
in
kind of a
that
really
game,
cool
and the
effect
feeling
where
of
the
exploration
walls
was just-
kind of
you literally
melt
your mind
away and
transported
small
into
spaces
another-
around
into
your
another world in a
character,
way that
so it feels
I
kind
love
of
video
organic
games and
without
gaming, but it was
just
so
fading the
unique
whole
to me
wall away
for
and looking
its
weird.
time. It was just amazing.
So Morrowind comes out is a much bigger success than even we. It's beyond what we need. It's a much bigger success than we anticipate, or it's huge, and it's really huge on Xbox. I believe it's becoming the second.
Are you having sex with your keyboard?
That's not me.
Then who?
Because people were hungry for. Oh my gosh, have you
I
seen
hope
this thing?
My hands are busy.
That
So
wasn't too
that
loud.
really made it.
Let
as
me
far
let me
as
just
us
like
as a
type
company and
gibberish because
studio.
it probably was me.
And that was
I'm
going
trying
into
to,
oblivion where
like
hey, the
enact
console
a gate on my mic, like a natural
the
gate.
audience that wants this is
But it's
much
hard.
bigger than we think.
Yeah, it's definitely
Ooh.
okay.
And there's
Morrowind,
there's
in many ways, is
Bethesda
responsible for
announcing
everything
their
Bethesda
new
has done
mistake.
since. Not only was it adored
We're
by
gonna
those who play
focus
it, but
on
it established a
consoles
creative
now.
process through which
Hell yeah.
BTS would make
That
their
was a
open world
smart
games.
idea.
The team had good tech, good art, good engine, good
Activision
story.
Master
It was
Race.
the foundation of a team that still exists today.
Did
A
you
team
just
that
say
would
good
gain
arse?
confidence with each project they took
Is it
on.
like good tech,
Although
good
the team was
arse,
working
good
under
engine?
the same roof as their parent
That's what I
company,
heard.
The financial success of Morrowind
I think he said good
gave them
art.
enough
He's
slack
got a
on
bit
the
of
back
that
to go for something
Bostonian
even
Irish
bigger.
accent.
You know, Morrowind
It almost
is
sound-
like the second phase of Bethesda. You have like
The way you said it almost sounds Scottish.
The
It was like
Arena
good
Daggerfall
art,
success and bad things
or
happen,
like
the
I
kind
can't
of
do it
good,
because I'm
and then
really
really
bad
got
at
to 6 or
impressions
7.
or accents.
And then
But
ZeniMax
that's what I heard.
formed to sort of recapitalize and hey, what do you guys want to do? That's the other part that really needs to be mentioned, like that business side, to keep us independent and say, hey, what do you need to make Morrowind what you really want? Without that, you know, we probably couldn't have pulled it off. And
The
then
business
so
side of these
Morrowind
kind of
on
things
is,
really
you know,
interests me.
second
They actually
phase.
announced that
we all
Rooster
worked
Teeth just
together,
announced they're
we
doing
all
a new
moved on to
podcast,
Oblivion
which is
afterwards,
purely
again,
just
a big
discussing the
investment for
business
company.
side.
You know, we
Like,
there's a new generation of consoles.
I'm actually really
we don't know what the
interested in
spec
that.
is.
I mean, yeah,
We're gonna
if it's
make this
Bernie
big
talking
game,
about
it's gonna be
like
a big
shop, that
AAA
would be
investment
fun.
for the
But
company,
like,
and you're gonna wait for it.
It's Matt and the dude who runs their division from Full Screen.
Ezra Levant, yeah.
Yeah. So it's Matt Hullum and Ezra, which I could still like. It's got maps,
actually, that was
so
a
it
very
can at
interesting
least
4 years
be
for us because we
comedic.
were searching a PC developer all along.
And having Ezra does actually help because then it's not like they've got some stooge. It is the actual dude who has the potential to fuck them up.
Like, it takes a different mindset. Oblivion was sort of our learning curve.
So
That
I
was
actually
our-
bought
our
Oblivion
project to
when I
learn
first
how
got
to
my
make games for
360.
consoles,
This
how to
was
make
my
games run
like
fast,
second,
good,
yeah,
and,
360 game.
within
And
the
I played like
constraints
3
that
hours of
consoles
it,
have.
and that was
I
about
remember
it.
we were one of the high-level goals, not officially, but we had been talking that like.
I can't remember the first time I played it. I
Morrowind
think it was a LAN party.
Was the Lord of the Rings trilogy the books? Because, you know, there's a lot of text. Then Oblivion will be the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy. You know, much more visceral. You know, a different aesthetic, more colorful, more, you know, more accessible.
Simplified.
We were working on it for the Xbox 360 at the time, which was not actually out. So we were working on hardware that was not done yet. So anytime you're trying to
that's always
know what the game is yet.
Because that was the thing, 360 didn't have too many launch titles, so I had what was it, Call of Duty 2
and then,
this.
Take a huge open
Xbox has historically been not great with launch titles.
No,
like the Xbox One is still waiting on its launch titles.
Yeah, no kidding. No, the golden age of Xbox was like 05 to 2010. That was when it like got a ton of exclusives. The online content was like zooming along when PlayStation was still fucking around with trophies, and it's like, and they squandered that. Just squandered it with the Xboner.
And the problem is that now all Xbox exclusives are also, you can also run them on PC. So why would you get it on an Xbox if you can run it on a stronger machine?
Were simplified. There seemed to be less.
Oh, you know what they say,
less
peace and
less factions and diseases. Having voice acting for every line of dialogue meant less speech options.
Having voice acting for every line of dialogue from 5 people.
Right?
The team
it was literally
battles.
They were like, yeah, there was a handful of people.
Fallout 3 had like a dozen voice actors. That's it. Every old man was the same old man except for Alistair Tenpenny. I said Pip.
So basically,
I said Pip Buck in public recently, and I hated myself for it.
I have to try not to say stable.
Yeah,
stable just sounds better than Vault.
Yeah, I saved the Fallout Equestria version first now, and I have to like run a subroutine in my brain to go back, translate.
We used all the speed tree assets.
Damn it!
Hold on, everybody. I'm not talking to horse fags. I'm talking to normal fags.
Oh no, the normies are gonna know
me. And it turned out it wasn't so good. So all the artists then
I just realized that my
basically did like a
microphone was
terraforming pass where we
using
go
my good
over the
one.
procedurally generated work and make it
Am I in one ear or am I in both?
I hear you in both.
It was an insane
okay, good.
undertaking.
Oh, also, for the record, I love the fact that they mentioned that it's going to be procedurally generated. I would really like it if it could stop doing procedurally generated maps. You're not going to match the quality of handcrafted maps. No, procedurally generated looks shit.
Yeah, learn No Man's Sky's mistake.
Make it, and the designer would help design it, and then.
I will take a small handcrafted map over a procedurally generated one any fucking day.
Yes!
Because a computer can't design the map around how the player is going to play. You need human intuition to look at the map and be like, is this going to be fun to walk through like 1,000 times over?
Yeah, you can add.
It's not going to be fun.
You can add some randomization into your design, but then you have to like take the reins and plan around it. Like early on, Monty Ohm told that story when he was getting Ruby together with the bros, and he talked about like, oh yeah, so I laid out like some ketchup on a napkin, and I took that as a rough outline for the land masses. And then he expanded it. It's like, okay, this is where City of Ludo, and this is where this will go, blah, blah, blah.
And in some cases, to even fit the game on the disc.
You've got to, to get to it, you've got to, you need to be hands-on.
Plan was there was going to be an arena.
Yeah, it
just
can
rather be smaller and with a higher
and
quality.
I think of it like a castle. Like, yeah, of course you can't just like clear cut a mountain and start with a flat square. It has to be like a castle where you build off of the existing mountain phase, but from the foundations, then it grows into a finely crafted towers and, you know,
but I actually really enjoy when I play it, just betting on a fight and watching and finding all the weird bugs with that. Like, I would set it up so that the two combatants there would be a Nord woman and an elf guy, and they would.
There'd be a Nord woman and an elf guy.
Really evenly matched, and invariably one team would always win, and it was supposed to be random. And I didn't know why, and I wasn't taking into account some of like the racial ability. Like Nords are stronger, right? So this guy was beating the crap out of this person, and I didn't, and so
rip elf
I
lady.
had to figure out all that stuff.
Right.
And,
the Khajiits were always losing.
Yeah.
Hey, look, this guy that's really good at hammers is winning all the hammer contests. Damn, what just happened?
Scale. Morrowind's actually
right.
a small game.
How do you forget the racial abilities? Like, if you're one of the,
it's foggy.
If you're one of the people who put this together,
wouldn't that
be something that you keep in your mind all the time? I mean, I know I'm shit talking this guy. Sorry, dude, but I am curious.
That's the most foundational element of RPGs. Yeah.
Hey, if I can.
So I suppose that sometimes you get scatterbrained. Like I have a shite-ass memory when I get stressed, so it's possible. It could be that.
And see the world and see
hey,
the
we're gonna have an
water
Earth Pony versus Unicorn competition. You gotta levitate this rock. Wait, what? It came down to every unicorn ever, and then Pinkie Pie.
Elder Scrolls games are like
somehow the Earth Pony wins.
So much
only because it's
magic. There's,
I don't know. I feel like Red Eye would win.
Oh yeah. You can't use technology though. That's cheating.
There hasn't been a nuclear annihilation yet.
There hasn't been a nuclear annihilation yet.
Everything's still beautiful.
So we
every day getting closer.
The guards are the best reflection. We started doing this in Oblivion. The guards are the best.
I like that guy's
reflection of the character.
Actually. He looks like a generic.
They comment on what you're wearing.
Look like a generic raider character in a Fallout game.
Thing, or like, and it gets really tough with stuff like the Thieves Guild, or like, did I see you sneaking out of that house? You know, like.
But in the voice cast in general had not.
So basically, the guards all play the same role that the Three Dog plays.
Michael Mack,
the Fallout DJs play. Commenting on you
and so forth.
God, I miss Three Dog.
Wait, you're serious, aren't you?
They've never topped Three Dog. They just can't.
I don't care if it breaks the canon or breaks the lore. Please bring Three Dog into Fallout 76.
Somehow, yeah.
Have him time travel.
And all in all, it's.
I'm sure if time travel's been used in Fallout before.
Have it be his grandfather, One Dog. There you go.
70,000 lines of dialogue, and eventually we had to.
This is a One Dog. Ow! Come to you live from West Virginia.
We could not fit it on the disc. It was just too much. Something had to go.
You're a big fat liar, brother.
You're a big guy.
He should be in the Priory House, I think. I don't see any good options here.
One actor, race.
This is when their faces hadn't fully gained enough pixels.
Nords, I think the male Nord
one actor per race and gender.
Originally, they were going to be different.
That is insane.
So the super mutants and ghouls in a nutshell.
We just
how you doing there, smooth skin?
It's all down to your local.
We all sound the same.
Or
the super mutants.
By very few people, so
wow, that was a really good super
Imperial male.
Shout.
Wes Johnson, our local voice.
Is listening through.
In fact, I always forget his name, but one of our voice actors, I see him like once every 2 months at the Dunkin' Donuts down the street. I swear to God, I'm always meaning to say hi to him. I can never remember his name. It's so embarrassing.
And he goes, "Oh,
he's great.
Oh my God!"
And I'm like, next time.
Hey, look, it's Emperor Palpatine. I am the Senate. I've been following prequel memes a lot lately. They've been posting.
I love prequel
memes. Yeah.
And there's Sketchy River then with $2. Thank you very much, Sketchy River. You're our favorite listener.
Fallout 1 was time travel from Fallout 2.
They had doubled in size trying to keep up with the workload, causing them to miss the Xbox 360 launch.
I'm not sure if we can hear you if you are talking.
But this delay probably only contributed to Oblivion's success. By the time the game arrived on store shelves, console players were foaming at the mouth to get their hands on this game. The scale of Oblivion was something that had never been seen on consoles.
I have to admit that the Irish accent really gives a texture to the background, actually.
Oh, 100%.
I wonder if that was planned,
in a way
because
that no RPG ever had before. Not only was this a red letter day for the open world console game, but it tapped into a love of the fantasy genre that had never had its mainstream moment. You could argue that the release of the Lord of the Rings films had helped, or perhaps
That's
they had
true,
just
like, that's
tapped
a
into the same
good,
thing. Oblivion was a costly venture for ZeniMax
Sketchy
Media.
Rivet
4
saying,
long
"I'm not
years
kidding,
and a lot
that's
of
why the
money
water
went into
purifier
the
broke?
development of
Is
this
that
game. So
like
they
something
wanted
with
a backup,
Fallout 1 and 2
something else
affected
for the team to
the
work
Fallout
on
3
as
purifier?
Oblivion wound down.
Oh!
Hoping they could use
Oh,
this
you mean the water
technology
purifier
on
in
it,
Vault
but
13?
perhaps in a different
Really?
way.
I didn't know that.
Looking toward Oblivion, which was a 4-year gap.
I don't know the
about 4
actual
years.
like lore.
You realize it's
I
gonna
never
take a
played through the
while.
1 and 2.
Oh,
God.
I know
It
the
wasn't
lore.
pressure,
I mean,
but, hey,
I've
we
played
should
through
probably
1
get
and
more
2,
than
but
one
I
thing
don't
done.
remember
This is
anything
fun.
about that.
What would you like to make? If they're having a rough time, they're not using it, we might be able to acquire it. And I was like, oh my God, that would be a dream. If you could get that, I'm telling you, this would be perfect here. Fits what we do, even though it's different, but the vibe of the game fits it would fit with our style of game.
Why did
And
666 with 2 maple bucks? Isometric gameplay F1 and 2 greater than F3
I remember
and 4.
I actually got a
Yeah,
sticky note
I mean
from
that's a very valid opinion.
I can remember it vividly, just a sticky note on my
How many players did they say would be on the map in Fallout 76?
76.
They didn't.
What is that, like,
No, I have
when
no
does that
idea.
happen?
I'm sure we'll see that in the next documentary, maybe.
I love what Todd was saying there, though. On a fucking sticky note, got you Fallout.
Going nuclear, I love it. Hey, Interplay's
I'm
dying.
going
You wanna pick up some Robin's grave while it's sitting there? Hell yeah, bitches! This is where I get involved. Now I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Fallout
look at
was
those graphics,
incredibly
so
exciting for
realistic.
everyone here because it was new, new to us. You know, we'd all played.
Nothing
the
beats
Fallout
this
game before.
original
I think most people here are
T45
fans of Fallout
staring
1
at
and
people,
2.
though.
And it was exciting to.
Oh my
hey,
God.
we've all been
the classic green
Actually-
wallpaper
group, right? We're making fantasy role-playing games. Let's jump into a post-apocalyptic world. What's that going to be like?
Hell yeah,
Big
bitches.
fan of those earlier games.
Oh my God, loved them. I think it's genius stuff. You know, all the credit to Tim Kaine and Jason Anderson, all those guys who did that game. That's the other thing. Why don't you make your own post-apocalyptic thing? It's like, well, we could do all this gameplay.
I mean, the Gek was a little bit
there's a
of
shtick
like a
with it.
magic,
With
like,
vault
you
text in the
know.
world.
Oh yeah,
That's
100%.
the salt.
But
That's
it
the
worked.
salt.
Like
It worked.
Even though I know there was a lot
the
of like
feeling
fan angst.
and
Understandably,
sort of vibe
I wouldn't
of
do it the same
Fallout.
way.
If you
Fallout,
ever
the
get a
original
chance to work on a
creators
video
fucking
game, work
nailed
on a
it.
Fallout game. You can do practically.
I love that they're like, yeah, we only got a couple of these magic
Just the breadth of
briefcases,
the
so we're gonna
storytelling,
try
the
to
breadth of the
distribute them
art
as well as we
direction,
can.
The tone and the humor.
Right.
I mean, it's
Give
so.
me
It's
kiss
unlike
to
anything
the dream
else. When we got it and we started Fallout 3. That was just.
I do like what he
For me,
points out
personally,
there.
I was
With
excited.
Fallout, you
I was
can
very, very
basically
excited.
do whatever the fuck you want and you'll get away with it.
Hell yeah.
And that's very true. Like, if you want to do a full-on drama or a comedy, or if you want to get weird,
When it was
or,
time for Bethesda to pick
like,
a
you
location
can do
for their
it.
Fallout
Fallout
game, they
works
chose
no
Washington,
matter
DC,
what.
and they did
I mean, what
so
are they
for a
gonna do,
number of
nuke you?
reasons. First of all, thematically, it just kind of works, right? This is the center of government of the United States. There's a pretty good chance that if a nuclear war happens, this is going to get hit. Second of all, it gave them creative distance from those earlier Fallout games, which were set, of course, on the west coast of the United States. And third of
West
all, this
Coast.
was 20 miles from Rockville, Maryland, where Bethesda's based.
Yeah, I
This
know, they're,
nuclear
like, right in their
apocalypse
backyard.
happened in their own backyard.
Right?
Well, this is how we make our games. Like when we first decide on a game, we start with the map.
We're like, shit, man,
And
DC.
so we started with a map of DC and started mapping out the locations and where everything is going to be.
So I remember Matt Carafano, the lead artist, this was after 9/11, he went down to DC to take reference photos. So he's walking around the Capitol in different areas, looking up, looking down, taking photos, and security comes up like, what are you doing? You can't do that. And they stopped him. Yeah. He's like, I'm just taking pictures. Like, no, you're not. A lot of artists did go downtown, and being right here was much easier to do.
I'm
So I
just
went down
imagining
and
what
took
this
a
would
lot of
look like blown
photographs
up.
of the Capitol, which turns out is not a good idea to do. I do not recommend doing this. I asked one of the police officers, hey, can I take pictures? I make video games. Can I take pictures of the Capitol? And he said, yeah, take as many pictures as you want. And while I'm taking pictures of the Capitol, I realized I'm taking pictures of a very angry guard in the Capitol, and he came out and told me I had to leave immediately.
Oh my God.
And didn't want any questions asked. But I got enough reference to build the Capitol, but I was very careful about not wanting to do that again. It's security risks, but hey, I just wanted to make a cool video game. But I didn't want to tell him, yeah, I'm actually taking pictures of this so I can blow it up in a video game, which is exactly what I was about to do.
And a lot of the concept art for that game was like...
Could you imagine someone with no, like, saying that unironically?
You know, like back then and even now, it's a little iffy.
Just like no awareness.
And I remember that we bought ads in the Metro.
Yeah, man, I remember my 8th grade trip, 04, just 3 years later. I had to like talk to a congressman and stuff to get to White House tour.
Of like
there's a lot of shit.
Destroyed, nuked Capitol building.
Oh my god, I love that. They stick the nuked Capitol building art in the metros.
We knew that the game
was
for advertising.
Imagine
you're walking.
Yeah.
You're walking through DC, and you find there are fucking pictures of a ruined DC hanging all over the place.
Yeah,
like that's.
I'm pretty sure that's like communism or something.
That's pretty like.
That's exactly what communism is. It's nothing different.
Just use the damn T-45 picture. Everyone loves that. It's fine.
We want to tell the story, but we tell the story through the quests. So for us, it was...
I love Megaton. That was a really good location.
What I liked about Fallout 4, though, is they put a lot more planes around, so you got to look at like the Fallout version style of the aircraft. I really love that stuff.
Yeah.
Because it looks like a lot of 1950s aircraft, like the Starfighters and the...
Oblivion had dozens of joinable factions, but there were 4 main ones.
I really liked a lot of the
level
design of Fallout 4.
And the Dark
shit, they went back to the
especially
colors. Quest lines that took the team significant time.
Yeah, the colors are fun sometimes. I still turn on like a classical mod that makes everything dingier once in a while.
Like the Enclave and Brotherhood.
I do like though
into the main quest.
But like the brown,
green, the
gross.
I do like though, yeah, Fallout 3 is like the Matrix where everything just has a green tint no matter what.
Yeah.
Using a system known as
so there's like one of my favorite things Fallout is like you sort of got when you've got a lot of really colorful visuals mixed with this horrifying violence.
3D FPS.
Like even if you look back at the original Fallout, where it's like the location is very brown and grey and ugly, but you've got this dude running through in this tight yellow-blue jumpsuit. Like how stupid is that?
Gun
it's amazing
from the ground up. Something this company hadn't done since the Terminator games.
I had grabbed Emil and said, okay, we need something. It's like Knights of the Old Republic.
Is it just me or does Todd Howard's voice like not match his body?
Oh yeah.
How do we put these two things together?
I don't know. It's got the kind of voice.
Like really
he's got both the voice and body that you know.
Kind of came together. But I would tell you
that makes me think nerd.
Everybody questioned.
Yeah, he definitely had to escape a few lockers back in the day.
Oh, definitely.
Like, what is the actual...
Both his voice and body
what's
definitely...
the player be feeling? What's the use of it?
Get that across.
We went from Oblivion, which had... You know, it was a very robust RPG. It was still
Shit,
very
man, I want to go back and play Fallout 3 now.
The bridge to a more, you know, general.
Todd is a synth.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, Todd is a synth that got the wrong voice module.
Like, you swung and you're in some kind of distance.
Todd,
and you hit,
K-Cat,
right?
synth
And then
Howard.
when you've guns, you have all sorts of different combat mechanics.
Todd slash K-Cat is it's a project from the U.S. government in the 90s that kind of like got free.
Projects that have done
it's just been making games and force fan
not
fiction.
knowing the experience, but better than we could ever do it. So
I'm gonna make an East Corp account on Fiction and message K-Cat and be like, are you
who love our role-playing games?
We know you're Todd Howard, but are you a synth?
Because those two things don't often mix.
I just watched an anime, Summer Wars, that basically has that plot, where it's the AI that gets loose and does
we were able to make it so, hey, you're not so great at Twitch shooty. You can hit that button, pause the game, see what you want, select targets, just like Fallout.
Yeah, I kind of miss the time stopping. It was a little bit
another
magical.
Fallout game before they'd get the feel.
It was so funny to
combat.
impossible to explain.
They made over
yeah,
Oblivion
but it's like
came from the team's
it worked. It's like sort of weird thing that worked really well.
Level designers and quest designers. This allowed for the design of better
Roy Mustang,
combat
yes, Summer Wars
more
is
varied
amazing,
locations,
absolutely.
and a lot more variety when it came to quests. It meant that instead of one person taking
I just got the
leadership
Blu-ray,
over
like,
a
Super
chunk
Deluxe
of the game,
edition,
designers were working
a few months
together
ago.
to solve problems. What this
Look at
resulted
this
in
dude.
was a game
What is
packed
this?
full of
Oh,
memorable
man.
moments. So we decided to ask the team
Oh,
about
God.
some of their favorites. Vaults full of Garys, tunnels full of snakes.
Haha,
and much more.
Gary!
But seeing as we have to start somewhere, how about we start
with Liam
with
Neeson?
The start.
I always love the vaults. Probably every Fallout we do, you'll be coming out of a vault. I
Okay,
like the
favorite
emerging
Fallout
into
3
the world.
Besides the obvious Fallout 112.
User design at the very beginning of the game. Like, okay, live your whole life
and
that
the
snapshot of your life
was awesome.
As you go through
Oh
it,
yeah, with the Stratusvarius at the end.
I love the beginning of Fallout 3.
Right. Yeah,
that's
like,
106.
A bunch, a little bit like.
Yeah, I think so. None of the vaults will ever reach Vault 11 status.
Oh no, when you step out,
that was a genuinely incredible experience.
Yeah, that's like Rod Serling level riding.
I think that was
like, just see a clip and you look at the view and you're like, it's okay.
I can't remember who came up. I think that was Josh Sawyer.
The stuff you did beforehand that make you really
still,
feel.
Who was the game director, but it was still like
you're playing. Anytime there's sort of distance,
wish Terminal Secrets could have presented a Vault stable experiment that good.
Yeah, we did our best, but that's hard to top, man.
From Oblivion.
That one's a hard one to top.
It's so clever, and after 150 years, they finally say, no, there's only 5 of us left. No one more sacrifice. It's like, congratulations, you solved the problem. Oh my god.
We were trolling you
to be
time.
Really impressive. So a lot of work
most disgusting practical joke ever played.
And the Vault 11 survivor, he or she left. Oh no, it was he. And yeah, he's out there somewhere.
For the Red Rocket station, you know.
Damn, I can't even remember the Fallout 3 vaults now.
So we tried to lead you into
it. I know the Gary vault. I guess there's the little tykes, right? Lighthouse.
How the game looked.
The little lamplight.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic
that one where the super where they were making super mutants.
Yeah, 87.
Feeling in the game. We wanted it to feel bad.
Damn, I can't remember
and that
now.
You are the hero who's going to come help make this world better. And it was.
See, that was one of the things I didn't.
From the lush
3
forest,
sort of versus Fallout New Vegas,
where
New Vegas still kind of has it, but that sort of you come into Fallout, you are the hero who's going to make the wasteland better. I kind of prefer the whole, the wasteland couldn't give a damn about you.
No grass, it's all dead, it's all brown.
Yes, you can kind of affect the world around you, but mostly you're just some asshole
stumbling around in the dark.
Look at this guy wearing a Mothman shirt. Nice.
Just enough flickering lights that you can navigate.
Like you still have some of it in.
Find like the
you
quest
still have
item.
Kind of some of it in
play through every quest.
In New Vegas, especially in the ending. But for the most part, it is a case of like
really bright background in there.
You just stick around it,
and then it'll move.
Oh, also that shot of this dude, the Mothman shirt. In the original version, they forgot to blur that out, the screen behind him out. And it had a whole bunch of Fallout 76 gameplay on it.
Oh damn!
Before Fallout 76 was demoed at E3.
Nice.
It was after the announcement, but before the gameplay demos.
Oh, that's funny.
And they, they're the bullies, and it's a very 50s type of, greaser gang thing. And he had done a concept image with that exact logo, Tunnel Snakes.
Tunnel snakes rule. We're the tunnel snakes. That's us.
We rule.
Tunnel snakes rule is awesome. And if you're online somewhere and you see a guild or a thing and say Tunnel snakes rule, that's us. To a T, every time. Anytime someone here is making a faction or guild or a clan or whatever in another game, everyone at the studio knows, yeah, it's Tunnel snakes rule.
Tunnel snakes rule.
Oh, the Tunnel Snakes were perfect. That was a really good addition. It was
so funny.
Oh, Gary. Again, a fantastic addition to
that's a classic example of something I had nothing to do with.
It's fucking insane.
The level designers just doing something. They had like, we need a vault, we need an experiment, go.
They'd done all these vaults, and they had this one with all the Garys. And the level designer comes to me, he's like, we had. There's a big deal, we record all the VO, we have to lock it. And he's like, you have this vault with all the clone Garys, I want to record some more lines, just the guy saying Gary. I'm like, they do what? He says, they just say Gary. I'm like, that's the fucking stupidest thing I ever
heard. I'm always assembling the scripts before they go off to VO. I think at the time, I always think things are stupid at first.
Imagine being a voice actor and just being told, say Gary over and over again.
Oh man,
Gary.
So awesome.
Trust me.
Gary. Yes, because I have no idea what that's like to be told to say something over and over again.
That is the worst levels you'll ever play.
Yeah, Kelly doesn't totally go back and send you.
There's a couple. Oh my God, it's
make you do repeats.
Perfect.
He actually very rarely does.
Really?
think it's mostly Skybolt.
Okay.
We had this
We're not going to bring this into the call.
I've been working on. I was like, this would be really
We're
good.
not going to make this a
Designer
thing.
knew,
I
hey,
complimented
we
you
want
on
this
your
to
most
be
recent set of
this group of
takes.
people who thought they were above
Mom and Dad are fighting.
I'm talking with you,
this horrible
Skybolt. It's
wasteland
fine.
we
I
live.
know
So
that on
literally, we
occasion I'll
put
need to
them
redo
above all the
things. It's
wastelands. So
fine.
they had this really tall tower out in the middle of nowhere.
Sometimes.
As much as I like to think I'm not perfect.
Perfect view for, all right, let's nuke.
No, actually,
perfect like me one day.
A different VA that isn't Needle, I had to train them to finally send me like 3 or 4 takes of lines because every time I'd be like, hey, if you could give me 2 or 3 versions of this, I wouldn't be emailing you right now. And they learned. They learned.
Like, you know, you could have Alistair Tenpenny at the very top in a very unique
yeah,
position.
damn.
Where
I guess
like
Vault 112 is the only like really significant Fallout 3 vault.
The real
rest
challenge
of these are
there
kind of
was
like
mundane. Just all the permutations.
Oh, hey, there's Tenpenny.
You know, do I let the ghouls out? Who do I save?
Tenpenny, he has a bit
because
of
we
a
had this
higher
goal in Fallout
voice.
3 that
This
the
is my
player can
fancy
do anything.
tower.
If the player wants to kill a quest giver, they can kill a quest giver. We talked
How's
about
it going,
Megaton.
smooth
If
skin?
you tell Lucas Sims, the sheriff, that you're going to disarm the bomb, and so you have the good quest, and you shoot him and kill him, but then you disarm the bomb, like, who rewards you? His little son actually comes up to you like, my dad's dead, but he wanted you to have this. Like,
I don't know why.
It's so bad.
Every Fallout game, I do what I call a profanity pass, where I go through all the dialogue and I rip out probably 50%
We
of
Bethesda
the
shit
profanity.
all the time, but they genuinely
But
do
in the case
hit
of Fallout
on
3
some
and Little
moments
Lamplight,
of
we have the character of
brilliance.
Mayor McCready, who we decided
I remember
we want
actually,
this
I
kid to
really
be the
liked
most
the vampire
foul-mouthed,
quest
like,
line
we
from
were gonna
Fallout
throw
3. That the whole
80%
family
of
that
the
Oh, the
extras on this
vampire.
kid.
Yeah.
The vampires was
Hold it right there,
fantastic.
lady. Don't take another step, or
shut
we'll
the
blow
fuck
your
up,
fucking head
McCready.
off.
And he comes, the
got so
voice
sick of
actor
these
we got,
little
I don't even know what
shits.
the kid's
I can't
parents were
kill
thinking,
them.
but he just did a great job, and it comes across as a kid who's trying to be tough, and he's the mayor, and he's in charge, and oh god.
You're gonna listen to me, Mungo.
To most kids, that makes me mayor for fucking life. Fine by me.
Yeah, Mayor for Life for like, what, 3 years? You're like kids next door.
Fallout
As
3
soon
was
as you
a
become a
success
teenager,
for
you're
Bethesda
out of there.
Game Studios, and as they moved on to
Oh
their
god,
next
you're right,
Elder
it
Scrolls
is that
project,
show.
a corporate-level decision was made
Oh my
to make
God.
a sequel to Fallout.
K&D was a
Fallout
good
New
show.
Vegas
Hell
was
yeah.
made by many of the developers who worked on the original games.
New
The game was
Vegas!
put
Okay,
together in
yeah,
18
now we're in
months,
the
and
shit.
so launched in a pretty buggy state. But fans generally appreciated the way in which Obsidian evolved the first-person Fallout. They
Oh, we
teamed up gun
genuinely-
combat,
we appreciate
added back
it.
in factions, and created a wonderfully immersive world packed
Back
full
in
of
the Mojave,
interesting stories.
bitches, where it
there aren't many
belongs.
New Vegas posters lining the halls of BGS, and in talking to the team here, it sounds like they weren't overly involved in the production at all.
We were very
AKA they're
hands-off with
fucking
that.
salty.
We had, I think,
Because a couple of
it
like
was
hobos
corporate
at
level
Obsidian
decided, like,
made a
we
better
should do
game
this,
than they did.
We wanted to support them as best we could.
No,
but we knew
we
that
love them
you know, they were
both, but
killing
I
folks
mean-
and they were doing their own thing.
I'm
I think we had
biased,
like one or
'cause
two
I'm
meetings with
West
them just to
Coast.
like go over some
Yeah,
high-level
I'm
stuff.
flinging
And,
up
like,
the
what are the
gang
ground
signs
rules?
right
What
now.
are, like what should we be doing?
Well, I love
but
the-
we were busy working on
I
our own
love him
stuff here,
talking
so
about,
we
you know,
knew
going
that
and
was one of
telling
the
him,
things.
Obsidian,
We
you know,
knew that,
this
like,
is how
listen,
you
if they're
handle
gonna
this in
do
a Fallout game. This is how
we're
you
not
do this.
gonna
This is how
have
you do
really
it. It's
have
like,
the time to
I've
work
got
on
to
it
imagine
because we're
Fergus
doing our own
Urquhart
stuff.
and Chris
How much
Haviland and
support
Tim
did you give
Kaine
us
sitting
for
there
the
looking at it being like,
Was that very
you
much of
realize
their
we
own?
created this franchise.
Pretty much of their own.
My favorite story.
You bought it from the guys who bought it from us.
Yeah.
Who owned it originally. But we
Interesting enough, of all the
created
people,
this
I was
game.
probably the one
My
who
favorite
worked on the
story,
team
and
that
I
worked
think
on
it
New
was,
Vegas the
it's either
most,
that Chris
actually.
Hamlin or
But
the other
they,
original
you know, they did
Fallout
a
writer
heck of a
guy,
job.
and he was
We
like,
literally
yeah, I
gave
want to
them,
wonder, like, who becomes the
this.
main
Here
villain?
is the
Because this is
engine
after the
and
fall of the
tech.
Soviet Union. They're like,
Godspeed.
well, let's
We gave
just
them all the source. Like, it
call
was
Russia,
basically, we
or
gave
let's
them
look
all
at
the
Russian
raw
news.
assets, you know,
And it was some
Wall Street.
story
Here's
about, like, the
everything.
Russian mob
You know,
that,
they gave
like,
us a great
bungled up
pitch,
something
great
outside of
story,
Moscow, and they're
it
like,
was pretty
man, they
exciting,
can't even
actually,
handle a
to
few
see
monsters
someone
in their
else do their
capital.
take on it.
It's not going to be Russia.
It was
And that's how
absolutely
China
well.
became the main
But,
villain.
you know, I thought they did a great job with
Oh
it.
man, so awesome! Like one news story. I actually just put on Twitter about how one bad news story created the Brony fandom and the father of the Bronies.
I've read that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Especially if you go to the comment section where it's just people being like, dude, you fucked up.
You fucked up bad.
You tried to do one thing and then
New
back.
employees and
Your
recognition
article
of their
backfired.
anniversaries.
I mean,
in Montreal.
It's almost like a
year.
case study of splendid backfire.
Montreal 4 years.
And now here we are, like almost 7 years later, 10 years later.
Games 5 years, and Nate Emmett 5 years. So a lot of people.
It bothers me how much that looks like a classroom.
It went on for quite a while.
I was in
the top
in
Bethesda birthday that month going to Quest designer Brian Chappie Chapin, who celebrated 17 years.
Also,
I
really
tenure at BGS
hate those
is pretty
those
high.
damn ADA bars in the middle of the hallway.
Project
It's like,
to project,
you know, not everyone needs a handle
more
bar.
battle-hardened and more trusting of the process through which they make their games. Bethesda has a process.
That's an
They
aside.
That's a very
so that as one
weird
game is
thing.
being finished,
Yeah, ADA
another
rules
is
are
being
bullshit
spun
sometimes.
up. They always start their new game with a map. They add new technology to help build the world. Then they write the stories, add in
the
new
Underworld,
tentpole
too.
ideas, and
Forgot
create
about that.
strike teams to
Damn, man,
focus
I
on
forgot a lot of
problematic
Fallout
areas.
3 stuff. Because
Crucially,
I
they've
don't think I
gotten
played
better
Fallout
at
3
finishing
since
games
Virginia, like
and
3
pulling
years
less out
ago.
of them at the last minute. This is a
Mr.
process
Burt.
that used to terrify the studio, but through experience, they've become a lot more comfortable with.
I don't know, let's say 7-8 months before release, it's a serious mess.
Right. Really wish that they would just like remake New Vegas, or at least, yeah.
I'll be honest, when they first started teasing that there's something Fallout this year, I actually was a little excited about the possibility of a Fallout 3 remaster. I actually wanted that.
Let's make this.
That's what I was thinking. Was it was
more of a thing?
Vegas sort of bundle
And then when you
remaster.
ship it, sometimes you
Man, how awesome would that be? With console mods, my dick would have been so hard about that. Oh my god.
3 months before we ship, there's this
That is
pocket
too much
where
information.
things are in
Hell
alpha,
Yeah, that
transitions
was
into beta,
Skyfall
and
just
the
went
game is done.
small. Like now we know how
and,
much he
like,
wants
people are
this.
like, yeah, this
I'm just excited, man. New Fallout game.
And you're like,
it's
yeah, we
gonna
know.
be fun.
I know, but we always get it. Like we know that it sucks. That's our job at that point, to make it not
Bloody
suck,
mess
to make
perk,
it
though.
fun. It's a
I love
you know,
Bloody
it's
Mess.
finally
I remember
the
like
giant
one
block of
like
granite has
article
been
about like,
delivered
oh,
to the
is this
sculptor.
game too
Thank you.
violent
It's
for the
sitting in a-
chillins?
Now I'm just
But luckily
chiseling
that
away
was at the
little by
time when
little.
all of that was like going
Little
away
time,
for a
it's
while.
getting
So
there.
yeah.
that was
At
gone.
this
I
point, we've
haven't
been
seen
doing it
one
so
of
long,
those
we
in a
know it'll get
while.
there.
Yeah,
I
I mean
think
that's
everyone
sort of
here
gone
to
now. We're
almost
like
an
looping back to
obsessive
the
level
like
wants
other
these
side of the
games to be
horseshoe, but
amazing.
we'll see what happens.
We don't like hold back. We're putting
don't, like,
everything
hold
we
back.
possibly can into this game,
Put
and that
everything we
actually is
can.
probably our biggest problem.
I'm so a little pissed I never got to try one of the Quantum Jones sodas.
Going to be good enough.
I think
Maybe
there
we
was
can
like
cut this
blueberry,
down
which
fairly
is
back.
like whatever, but like
it's not for
Jones Berry Lemonade. You can buy it at literally any
everyone wants
store.
everything in
oh,
this.
it's a lemonade. Oh,
And then the next game, it's
That's
okay.
better.
That was
Yes.
great. What can we do
Yeah,
now?
they
How
just
can we
put
make
a
this
new
better?
label
We're
on
done.
Jones
Next.
Berry Lemonade.
What are we gonna do?
I know,
that can
but I
blow that
want,
one
like,
away?
the
No one will ever
label
want to
and
play that game again.
I
after
could
this.
make you a better label.
that would be
No, that's
sweet.
good.
I remember,
Our
was it Pixel
fans
Kitties?
are
They
amazing,
sold
but they,
Fallout,
play our
Sparkle
games
Cola
so
stuff for
long,
a little
having
short time
the
at cons.
creation kit and modding be such a big
Those
part
are
of
great.
Bethesda is just.
I could literally
really
make
cool.
you a better Sparkle
I'll
Cola
often go
label
look at mods
than
and
whatever
just
they
can't
sold at
believe what
Target.
they've
I
done.
mean, yeah,
mostly.
but
on
no,
the visual
focus
front.
on
Oh,
focus
that's,
on Batter.
That's really
She's the
amazing
most
how they're
important.
using some new effects on the
That's
game,
fine.
or the teams who will go and try to recreate one of our older games in the newer engine.
Speaking of Fallout merch, though, there was
like
a
the biggest.
I had
I
a
don't know,
big college
praise
friend
you could
before
possibly
Pony.
get is that
I got
people want
into
to remake
I got
the
him into
entire
Fallout,
game we
and we were
worked
like
on,
that. We literally
in the
drove
newer
to
engine
Vegas,
just
and we
because
had like a
it'd be little
Fallout
bit
New
better
Vegas
and cooler,
vacation.
and
It was
they
really
want to
awesome. And he's not a horse person,
There are a lot of
but he's
people
a
here on the
solid
team, me,
Fallout
myself
fan.
included, are huge
and
fans of
he
mods
got me when we
and the modding
graduated
community.
from
They've been-
college,
and they've been doing it for
it was
just
also
as long as we
Christmas.
have.
He got me
The modding
this like
community is
Nuka-Cola
15,
bottle
18
caps
years
in a
old.
coaster.
That's unheard
It was
of
like
in the
sealed
industry.
in
No one, like,
acrylic.
There are no fans
So
of,
good,
like not even
so
the Minecraft community is
detailed.
that old. Like
Anyway,
there's nothing like that
so.
in the industry. So we're really in a really unique situation.
I know. Yeah, I've tried, but you know, horses are something else.
I love listening to Bethesda talk about how much they love the modders. It's like, yes, that's how your games.
Yeah, no shit.
That's the thing that makes your games like proper good,
workable. Here we go.
Is the mods.
Skyrim 5, The Elder Scrolls.
You know, I talked to Todd a lot about this. It was just kind of Todd and I talking about Skyrim early on. Nobody was
You guys
working on it.
noticed
They were
that
still working on Fallout.
they showcased one of those breast
And
mods?
We both wanted.
Oh, did they
you and I
really?
Somehow align on.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, on the Pip-Boy.
Oh, nice.
It wasn't sort of the
It's not the one with like the
fantasy
Triple H's, is it? Because that's a little bit too ridiculous.
But wasn't as.
It's all about
definitely such a thing as too big.
Yeah,
So we
that's very
wanted
accurate. Yeah,
to do
you
something that had a lot
gotta
more of the
fine
local culture, so we picked the
tune
Nords.
each
We were both
side.
excited
Like I see sometimes what the patrons post in the booty barn, and yeah, there's definitely such a thing as too big.
Oh yeah.
And
that's like finished here.
What is this game? All right, I'll make a map and we'll start figuring out where everything goes.
Bad
and what could be in it. And I pulled references for all the different regions because early on we told the team, hey, yeah, we're gonna be making Skyrim, and everyone's like, is it gonna be all snow?
It's gonna be all snow.
So I did a presentation for the whole team that was, well, no, it's not going to be all snow. And plus, there's so many different kinds of snow you don't realize. So we broke apart this sort of Arctic environment.
Yeah, man, jam the tundra.
Tundra, different types of tundra.
Ah, there you said it.
More open fields tundra, rocky wastelands on the edges, a snow environment, Arctic glacier environment, and then, you know, forest. Make them different. We can have pine forest. We can have, you know, fall
deciduous.
Forest, what we called it, because we kind of set the tone.
Go into the starless tundra. Follow your true and rightful king.
Hell yeah.
That Oblivion had tipped back to being too generic. It's welcoming, right? But it doesn't have, its character just became.
I like the garlic there.
next gen.
Gonna keep all them vampires away. The vampires gonna chew on me tonight.
At an instant felt a bit
Stop
more
the werewolves.
rugged.
And it'll stop pretty much anyone who doesn't like garlic.
Fallout 3.
I stumbled on a clip recently of that movie Daybreakers from like 10 years ago. That was a good vampire.
It was a smaller game in a lot of ways than even Oblivion, which allowed us to polish. And we knew that with Skyrim,
allowed us to polish. Horse
Skyrim would be
shit.
fourth by
no such thing as polish
with Bethesda game.
And with that confidence came the drive to improve on things that they had done before.
Bethesda games have two settings, coarse and rough. You pray every day that it'll get to the rough setting.
We'll come up
at
with
some point
the basic ideas behind each town or each city and say, all right, these are the people who live here. It's kind of based on, you know, if it's Solitude, it's a heavy Imperial presence, and we want it to be near a port. Come up with some ideas, and then Ray.
I really like the design of Solitude. Like, that's a nice fantasy city.
That is really cool.
And everyone's like, oh yeah, all right.
Though it's a shame that design looks great from the outside, but it doesn't actually come through once you're in the city.
So we tried to branch out and like make them a lot more organic, because the way we would build them before, it was pretty much Lego pieces, and it would all snap together in like 90-degree angles. Caves aren't really 90-degree angles, so we expanded on that and added all these pieces to jam in, so things can like flow around really natural. Like it's more work for the designers, but then it doesn't just feel like, you know, an old school grid RPG thing. So I think it made a big difference and sort of laid the groundwork for what we did on Fallout 4, which went even further.
I mean, Fallout 3 cave systems were good. I didn't see a problem there. The only problem with Fallout 3 was the way that some of the metros were blocked, and you had to like ridiculously like get up a metro and then over a few blocks and then back down a metro. That got a little bit old.
Storytelling are rife with bugs. In the past, bug hunting was something that was done by the entire team as they approached launch. But as the studio grew, they were able to put resources into starting a quality assurance department.
You need more resources.
Many of whom were fans of the games to join their QA department and find bugs for them. And as it turns out, bugs came in all shapes and sizes.
There were some that dealt with menus, and then you would be the person that was just scrolling through menus trying to find typos, trying to find issues with the menus. Then there was
previously in QA, as in she got the hell out of there as soon as she could.
Whether they could run through a wall, or whether this collection of spells, if we're using Skyrim as an example, would cause the game to crash. So there were teams that were specifically put on like quest completion and making sure they can get from point A to point B without any issues, just running this specific path. Some would have to divert and do side quests. There were achievement testers that would do the quests or do what they needed to do in order to figure out whether the achievements and trophies were going to pop properly.
Skyrim wasn't the first Bethesda game to ship with bugs, but thanks to capture cards and the growing popularity of YouTube, it was the first to have so many of them immortalized for millions to see. I asked the team about some of their favorites. Some you may have seen yourself, and others you probably haven't.
In the DLC for Skyrim, I think it
My
was
favorite one is the
Dawnguard.
horse that walks straight up a mountain.
Yes! Oh yeah, that was
I love that
supposed
one.
to be a fork and knife. So there's fork and knife. You weren't supposed to be able to pick them up. They were just supposed to be placed on a table. But there are two in the game, still to this day, because they never fixed it, that you could pick up and hold as weapons. And you can enchant them, and you could like decapitate people with like an eating fork and an eating knife. Had a blast doing this, but the bug part of it, and like that part wasn't that big of a deal, but the bug part of it came where if you created a save game and then loaded that game with the fork and knife equipped, it would load you into the artwork somewhere in the game. So like you would just be in the middle of the table play setting.
The game like.
I love how they know that this is a thing, and it's still in the game.
You're basically the plate.
I have actually heard that. I can't
top
remember if it was in this documentary or somewhere else, where Bethesda have actually purposely left some of the funnier bugs in because they know that it's like part of the enjoyment.
It will propel
Bethesda games finding the bugs.
Yeah, it's like getting out of the map in Halo 2. That was good stuff back in the day.
Over people's heads in town.
Welcome to the Bond Pro. What can I do for you?
You don't look so good. Are you feeling all right?
I have all sorts of interesting items for sale.
Because our system for the AI was literally a line of sight, a pick drawn from the center of the head to whatever they were going for. You put a bucket on the head, they couldn't see you anymore, right? No one else could do that. All our QA, all the hundreds of hours, thousands, tens of hundreds of thousands of hours we collectively put.
Hit the pound, and because they're always paired with the mammoths, they send them in the air. But I never saw the bear until it released. And so then the game released, and then suddenly this whole thing where my bear was being launched.
I love how chilled the mammoth is about this though, like up in the air, down,
like that,
continues with its day.
Bear that keeps flying around and all that.
Attack bear, please attack bear. Yes! Jack.
As much as we all enjoy a good flying bear, bugs weren't the only element of Skyrim to be immortalized by internet culture. Emil is responsible for so much of what makes these games special. He's written all the Dark Brotherhood questlines. He helped design every lockpicking game Bethesda has ever worked on. He even wrote an entire arena combat mode for Skyrim, with arenas in every city, just like the original concept for Oblivion. But just like that, it didn't make it in. But despite all of his work on all of these elements, the thing that Emil is probably most famous for is a single line of guard dialogue that he wrote in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, so, and again, I was Dark Brotherhood, guard dialogue.
Are you responsible for arrow in the knee then? Is that what you're telling me?
I am. That's just the weirdest thing ever. But yeah, it's just, it was one line of dialogue and a stack of 100. I don't know. Like, the guys say a bunch of stuff. And for some reason, could never have foretold. To this day, I still don't know why. There you have it. Yeah, so weird.
You presumably you wrote it just like one late night. It was like
I was just writing a stack of them, a bunch of randomized lines. Like, I used to be an adventurer like you, arrow in the knee, you know, hey, I saw a horker down there, you know, whatever. Like, it wasn't, didn't give it a second thought. Like, you know, you're just trying to get into the mindset of what these guys do.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Something else Emil worked on was the dragon language. The team had wanted to put believable dragons into a 3D Elder Scrolls game since forever, and now that they finally had the technology to do it, they wanted it to be an integral part of the main quest.
I don't know if this has ever come out, but one of the biggest inspirations for the shouts is actually the power of the voice in the Dune movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Muad'Dib. Yeah, because they have that device, and like, you know, it blows up the rock. There's a sort of cadence to it, like, because each shout is a maximum of 3 words, and so like, if you find 1 word, it's an exhale, foos. If there's 2 words, it's an inhale then an exhale. It's like foos row, and then if it's like foos row da, and then like, and so getting that pattern and that sort of feels a little bit musical, but you feel the power behind it, and then coming up with all the shouts and stuff.
For Fallout 4, the team had put together a strike team to figure out how VATS combat could work, and for Skyrim, there were a bunch of strike teams too. One of them ran for the entire length of the game's development, as it was responsible for one of the most important parts of the game, the dragons.
They're very special.
Not enough dragon riding in Skyrim.
Like, draw distance,
0 out of 10.
In games, you want to be efficient about.
I legit modded like 40 new dragons and the ability to ride them in my Skyrim.
But the dragon, you
yeah,
100%. As far as your eye can see, right?
It always felt a little. The dragon riding felt wonky in the mod I used.
He's basically like loaded.
So I never did it again.
And he's costly. He's has the most bones.
I need to get a better mod.
Get a better mod.
If you think about it, like he's a heavy character.
Dragons were tough in multiple ways. Just how do they work? Just with the way the games work and the way we build the worlds, you know, it's very sort of cell-based, because technically it has to load a certain number of cells and a certain number of actors, and so the technical aspect of, well, here's this thing that's in the sky that can go wherever it wants. How does that work? How does it work within the game world for the player? And then once it's within your space, how do you actually fight it?
Right.
So fighting it in the air if you're shooting spells at it, when it's on the ground.
Oh, by the way, Needle, I'm shit talking at your boyfriend.
The whole game from the beginning to the end, we were working on dragons. Just sort of how to, can we do this? And then once we got to a point,
I'm aware.
like,
He's sending me screenshots.
What don't we do? Yeah, like the quest wasn't work. Like, where's the dragon? It's over here. There's a bunch of sheep it just killed.
What, the dragon just like vaporizes?
Like, where's the dragon? Because it uses radiant AI, so it would go off on its own and do its own thing.
Skyrim was a massive commercial and critical success.
Yeah,
it
no
became
shit.
one of the most modded games of all time, spawned a huge community of both young and old, and has since been released on practically every console known to man. Even the team laughs about themselves.
I just got Skyrim for the
as
N-Gage
game
last
that
week.
will never
So
die.
awesome.
But the success the game enjoyed was a surprise to most of them.
Does anyone else
never
remember
guessed
the
how
N-Gage?
that game would be as popular and it did do as well as it did.
Taco
We knew it was
phone?
a fun game. We knew it was awesome. We knew we played it. 6 months, I'm like, I think we have
How
something
many
here, but I
copies
don't want to say
Skyrim
it
do
out
you
loud
all
because I don't
own?
want to jinx it. And yeah, and that would have been
two.
for the designers. That would have, that would have been
Zero.
their like third game now. Like so.
I actually
that's
blame Skyrim for the
practically
delays
unheard
on
of in
Fallout
history
4. So
for a
fuck
team to
Skyrim.
be together for that long at that point.
Look at Todd.
Morrowind, and then Oblivion, and then Fallout 3. Now we're going to do
He
it.
looks so happy.
So
and it's one of the
tiny.
advantages that we have because of our history and
Actually,
all the games.
I feel bad for him on Fallout because
how are we doing now compared to where we were?
He'd won for Oblivion, Skyrim, and Fallout 3 Game of the Year.
That's sort of another advantage that we have, in the industry.
So every time he directed a game for 3 games in a row, it won Game of the Year, and Fallout 4 broke that streak.
Oh!
We need a new
Damn.
game mechanic. Okay, great. We have 15 years.
Maybe you should have delayed
Which
8
one do you
fucking
wanna
years
try?
then.
It should have come if it came out in like 2016, which was just a shitty year for games. Like outside of Doom 2016, I did not like many of the games
The
from
first
that
thing
year.
for us is figure out where the hell is this
I have
game
to
set.
say, the
Like,
mass
and
fusion
it
building by
wasn't
itself
Boston
kind
anymore.
of screws up the
And it was
landscape.
really,
They
I
should
grew
have
up
had a
in
few
Boston,
more
and I
modern
thought it would be
towers.
great, but I didn't want to be that guy.
It's
I
like
didn't want
the
to push
one
for it, so I'm like
awkward, like,
so it
like
was set
monolith
somewhere else
in the middle of the city.
and I still have a design doc in my desk.
Hey, whoever's
original
heavy
design
breathing
doc.
into their mic,
And
stop
in
it.
that design doc, the one
Probably
thing that
Kralak.
holdover is the character of Nick Valentine.
Character
Which
of
was
Nick Valentine.
conceived even way back then. He was like the first
Oh
character
god, Nick
we-
Valentine.
Emil's
He was
design
a
doc focusing on a
genuinely
New
great part
York-based
of Fallout
Fallout
4.
was one idea that the leads were floating around.
He has a
They
certain
could place this game
character that
anywhere.
you just
In fact, at one
can't
stage, they
help
had
but
asked
like.
Obsidian to remove a line.
I mean, yeah,
in
he's the
Vegas
reason
about San
that
Francisco being totally wiped
Terminal
off the
Secrets
map.
episode
They
2
wanted the
was
Bay
the
Area
way
to
it
at
was.
least be an option
Because I was just
for
playing
future
through it, I was like,
games.
oh
The
my
idea for
god,
Boston
I've got to
actually
do a
came from
detective
lunch
story
meeting
in
between
Terminal
East Pantele,
Secrets.
Todd
Yes!
Howard, and Emil. And once Beantown was given the thumbs up,
I think everyone
Emil
knows
headed
what part
home
of Fallout
with
4
his camera.
influenced
I had a
my
friend of mine who was
storytelling.
a
Oui,
MIT
oui.
Gee,
professor,
I
does MIT,
wonder.
CIT in the game. But I had a friend who was an MIT cop who he drove me around, gave me a little tour, and he said, hey, I don't know if you knew
Waifu
this, but
bot
it's an
and
open campus.
the,
it was in the summer.
and the
it was
ice
like, the
caps.
campus
See,
is
that's
open.
how you
can
get
walk
location
around.
pictures.
can
You
walk
make
through
friends with the
classrooms and
security
walk
guard, and
anywhere,
then they just take you
know, the
around.
whole cryo book with Fallout 4. I was wandering on the side tunnel down this corridor in MIT.
It was an
there's this
interesting mix of
cryo
like
lab
Americana
with these
history
giant
because
cryo
Boston is so
tanks.
like
And I
OG,
sent these like selfies.
and it's got all these
and
horribly
sent
laid
them
out
to
streets.
Todd. I'm
I
like,
mean, it's like literally mid 1700s.
it was pretty fun.
Like, you know, street
and then I
level
knew back
design.
then, like the story just started to take on.
Well, I think it's kind of funny that
friends that live there.
for Fallout
So we, like,
70,
toured around
because
the
Fallout
city and
76 is
taking
sort of
tons and tons
going
of
on the
pictures, which
whole
should have been a red flag to them.
tricentennial
But then the extra big
anniversary
red flag should have been
of
like,
independence.
and then we're gonna go and check out Fenway Park.
Boston would have
That
been a
was
much
designed to be
better
all this stuff.
location
Like, that was
for
the
a game
very
with
first
that
thing I
kind of
worked on
theming
Fallout 4,
because
Yeah.
of its sort
starting out
of
building
like
Fenway.
Boston
From
or
the
Yorktown
beginning, we
or
wanted, like,
New
those
York
stadium lights
or
Williamsburg. That would have been awesome.
Williamsburg, yeah, like one of
So I
like
always
those
wanted to
locations
peek
would
in,
have
like,
might have actually been a
I
lot
always
better
like to
for
build
that kind of
worlds in a way where you have, like,
theming.
these
I agree.
landmarks that you
Yeah.
can
Fallout
orient
game.
yourself with too. That way you don't have to like pull up the map all the
I
time.
guess kind of Virginia has as well
Navigate
because
using what you
although
see.
My
Be-
childhood bedroom is
because
in the
that
game,
was,
my
you know,
high school's in the game.
that was the high seat
Greater
of the
Boston, Bosco, he
Southerners.
has a bear.
I mean, kind
So
of. West
it was
Virginia
the
was
Don
pretty
Bosco
far
Bears
out
was my
though,
mascot
way back
back
then.
in high school.
yeah.
So.
Like
I
it
suppose,
was
like, Virginia
Thomas
as a whole.
Allison's
park.
home in Charlottesville. That was like
we
really
knew that there were
far
the big
west,
things.
you
that
know,
we had
relative
there.
to the coast.
You
Yeah.
have this quest to get
University
paint
of
for
Virginia.
the wall, and you can repaint.
I've been
He was
there.
basically the most southern southerner to ever southern during that time period.
But it was great.
I think you think
Boston
of Jefferson
Common
Davis.
in the
I actually know a
Public
relative
Garden,
of Jefferson
the
Davis.
Swan boats
but,
are big, and
you
that's
know.
why we have Swan. The super mutant,
Swan, yeah.
The Old North Church, we knew that had to be.
Swan scared the crap out of me because that was one of the things I quite liked was they didn't advertise sort of the legendary boss battle characters that you just wonder that you could find. So I just stumbled across Swan, found him, and I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, same. Luckily, I was high enough where I already had like Annabelle or one of them rocket launchers, and I was like, okay, you're going down.
Drawing out how we wanted the market laid out and stuff. I actually laid that out myself, and one of the things I wanted.
I love the robot, just the random Japanese noodle bot, just serving everyone noodles for hundreds of years.
Sometimes people
so
will
which is great because that kind of
clothing shop
back
is
to
over there, the weapon shop
Curie,
is
because
over there.
Curie's reaction to him is
super
fantastic.
Yes, and then she immediately
like 30
weeps out and
hours
starts talking
of additional
to him.
time in your game, just like running back and
He
forth.
is not
between
very
those shops. So I was like,
interesting.
let's
He
take all
only
the
talks
shops,
about the
and we put
noodles.
them right here in the middle, so you can just.
Oh yeah, and then
buy
the
and sell
baseball guy
everything
who
right
thinks
there.
baseball was some
Fallout
kind of
4, I
like
think,
cage
for
match
us was
sport.
the
I love
first
it.
time we really handled a giant city in a much.
It's sort of like what
and
Bethesda's done a very
really hard to
within
jam
while
everything
holding the
we
Fallout
wanted to
games
into a city,
is
make sure you didn't get
the
lost,
way
and
they
make sure it
do
ran well
just the random
that
people
was
that you
quite
meet.
quite a lot of work went into
Like
figuring
in
out
terms of the
how to
world building and the location design of the characters that you meet,
color
Bethesda
rock
is still
and a
top
certain
tier.
red and a certain blue.
Yeah.
Like it's everything I want.
Everything, like the
Yeah,
high-tech
because
buildings
that's
will have
always
same
like the
blue as
population,
cars, and
like a
very
filled out
conscious choices that we
world.
had.
That's the
We
hardest
just
part
wanted
I
sort of these
understand as a
accent
game
colors.
design level, but it's
So
like
you would have,
it just
you
it
would know
feels
where, like,
so much
important things
richer
are.
when you have
So you'd have
more
sort of
just
the
random
background of the
NPCs
terrain
walking
and
around.
ruin
That's
stuff with a
another.
certain
That's
color,
the
but then you
first
get
thing that scared me
pops
when
of
they said
color to
only
make it feel a
people
little
in
bit more
76 are
alive
real
while
people.
still
Because
being
I'm like,
trashed and crappy.
no, it's going to be
Color
an
and lighting has a lot of
empty
similarities
map.
to where I think of it
I don't
as
know.
mothing the
I hope
player.
it's not.
See something and go towards it.
Yeah,
especially when we set up our EAST Corp server.
Here are these bright colors, and when I see that,
you guys
got to
all come. We got to make our nuclear horse servers.
That's going to lead me through this dead wasteland that we're in, and just be kind of.
Needle already has 76.
The
Fuck
location
you
for a
all.
Bethesda role-playing game.
I was gonna
is
say
always a point of
it better
interest,
have a
but in the
a
case of
76
Fallout 4,
like at
many
least
of us had
minimum
heard that it was
character
set in
or
Boston
maximum character
years
limit because
before
that'd
the
be
game
funny.
was released. In December of 2013, a Kotaku article revealed the location to be Boston, referencing a voiceover script that had been leaked to their news desk. Communications between the studio and the outlet.
I mean, yeah, it's got to be hard to keep a secret like that
I wanted
for
to know
7 years.
how the
you
studio
know, of course it
reacted
would get out.
when they first saw the report.
I mean,
There were some
word did
small
get out
ones,
because there
but
was
nothing, nothing really bad. There was some VO script leaks.
Although it's like
that wasn't
there was nothing big was leaked. The primary crux of the story with you being
when they were emailed to me from somebody
with you being a
then you're
fucking frozen.
Yeah,
like that was leaked.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, it's no big deal. Nothing leaked.
And the location.
Yes, something was.
I'd argue the location
let
is a
that
very
kinda,
important thing to get leaked as well. It's like
the location was leaked. The funny thing is, I discovered that Boston was the location for the game watching your honest trailer for Fallout Equestria. Where you were like, forget Boston, I want this for Fallout 4. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, so it's in Boston.
Yeah, that was because of that damn Survivor 229 asshole on Reddit. Of course, some cancerous Redditor who would pull some trick like that. He set up the fake website and everything.
If you're going to obfuscate stuff,
what a piece of shit,
related to Fallout, you
got
really have to hide it. You can't simply just change give it a code name and call it a day. Like if you look at the thing, you're like, oh, this is a Fallout game.
Yeah, it's almost like you'd
Bethesda
have to
Game
change,
Studios
like you'd have to
continue
give
to
like
grow,
a false
expanding
story to
departments
people,
with a
like
focus
the
on improving
blue.
the general
What do they call
production quality of
Star
their
Wars
games.
3? Like
Technical artists were hired to create bespoke
Horizon?
tools for the
Blue,
team. Dedicated animators helped to create more complex rigs. They added
Family
cinematic
Guy, they
cameras to
used them
dialogue,
too.
upgraded the animation system,
Blue
even
Harvest,
sharpened
that
up
was
the shooting.
We really, I feel like what happened was that in Havoc animation in particular, we integrated.
You know, one
real-time
other thing that
systems.
bothers me about
I think Fallout
Boston,
4
and
was
it's
the
because they're
beginning
shit
of us
roads, is
really
one of the
getting
few
in the groove with that.
discontinuities in
Like,
the
there's a
United
certain time when you start to learn a new
States'
tool when you
freeway
adopted
system.
Havoc.
So the whole
There's a
purpose
time
of
where
the
you're
freeway
just
system,
trying to
how they
learn
got
it. So we
funded,
did
as a
it.
military
But I
asset,
think when
the
we
whole
did
idea
Fallout
was that
4,
you could move
we
giant
knew it
military
well enough
vehicles
where you're
around
not
with
fighting
no
the tool so much
stoplights,
and you're
no
much more in the
guards.
realm
Like
of
there's a
creating the
minimum
art, right?
minimum
I started
threshold,
on Dog Meat
and you know,
pre-production on Dog Meat,
it
and
was
then I
smooth
passed it on
between
to
all these
someone else
major
who actually
cities,
did an
and there's
amazing job
one
with it.
break
And
in
then I
like
stayed
the
primarily on,
Midwest,
like,
and then
scene
one around
direction directing
Boston,
any actors
of
that we had
course.
for mocap, and
Just
focusing
had
on
to screw it up.
We spend so much time talking in our games, and it's the area that I feel like we continually need to push. I did a lot of the mocap. I was also the actor for most of the mocap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like the salesman, when he first comes in, like that's I did all his stuff. I shot the cryopods, the infamous cryopods.
I shot them.
That we did with a couple people here. Yeah, we have like a mocap stage, and I just go downstairs and just shoot it. And you know, I get in the suit, I play the audio, and I try to perform to the people's performance, or I grab somebody else and say, hey, I need your help, let's go shoot.
You know, it's funny that I grew up with the kid, Jay Giannoni, who the last time I saw him in person, we were in a fight.
Right.
Me and him and his friends were against me, and it was like, it was like this like bully nerd situation, did not end in a good way. And I had known that Jay, throughout the years, he had gone on to be an actor, and he'd been in some stuff, and I was like, and I liked the things he'd been in, so I reached out to him like, hey man, like, how's it going? I know you're an actor, do you want to like be in the game? And so he does the voice, he does a couple of voices in the game.
Oh wow. Hey, what's up, punk? You remember when I gave you that swirly? You want me to pay that back?
You gotta find people that you don't to be in to voice act in your thing. Hey, Needle.
Before each project, Bethesda hosts a game
I
jam
was
where they
insulting
invite
you.
everyone in the studio to prototype something for a new or existing
It's not very
game.
good because I'm not
It can be
insulted.
anything, big or small. For
Fuck
instance,
you,
one
Vermont.
of
Oh
the
yeah, and then they
producers
added
learned how
cats
to
because everyone
animate
was mad.
cats
How come
during
you got
one
dogs
game
but
jam.
no cats?
Those animations
Okay,
are
we'll put
used
some
in
fucking
Fallout
cats.
4.
Whatever.
Another game jam gem came from physics programmer Mike Delaney. He knocked together a system that allowed players to build and furnish their own bases. This system, Workshops, ended up being one of the tentpole features of Fallout 4, but the truth is that it almost didn't make it into the final game.
The workshop mode in Fallout was on the cutting block for so long. We're like, I don't know if anyone
I'll
really
be
wants to do
honest,
this.
that
It's kinda fun,
gave a
though.
lot of longevity to
Well, I
Fallout
guess we'll just
4
kind of
for
keep
me.
it in there.
It
It was always like
whenever I'm like
it just
vegging,
refused to
just
die,
like
because
it was like The
we just
Sims,
weren't sure,
because I
like,
used to
does
love The
anyone
Sims
even
growing
care
up.
about
I'd just
it,
sit there and
it
build
turned
whatever
out to be
stuff,
huge.
you
Like,
know.
there's a
and,
contingent of fans
It's like
who
Legos.
hate it, and there's a contingent of fans who hardcore fans who absolutely adore it.
Workshop is the easiest thing.
Well, I think one of the funniest things is because they were sort of talking about, you know, it was added in quite late, so that does kind of match the fact, that does kind of explain why it felt a little tacked on.
Oh yeah.
Like it was good, don't get me wrong.
Invest more time, and it could have been like.
But it didn't feel like it really did
town or something.
bolted it on. Like,
No, it was like firefight mode in ODST, Halo, and then it became like the biggest thing about the game.
You get to do that for the rest.
Firefight mode was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Parts of the rest.
Yeah.
And then of course Halo Reach brought that into
one of the
like,
conspiracy
super...
theories that fans of BGS
Halo
games
Reach
love
did
to
a
talk
really,
about
really
is
good
the idea
job
that these
to,
games all exist in one universe. In which the studio creates these
still my
games in
favorite
series means that there are always elements of
I know it's a very
other games
unpopular
being
opinion.
brought into the
I mean,
Fallout
I
games,
get
and
it.
vice
It's
versa.
just
But one of the most
it had too many
exciting
drawbacks
crossovers
for me
ever
that
was
like
actually
took
left
it
on
away
the
from the
cutting
main
floor.
like. First of all, the plot,
of
of course.
Salem,
I'm
Massachusetts,
a Fall
and a
of
bunch
Reach
of
plot
magic
purist,
kids.
and I don't care.
In the real world, there's the
say.
city of Salem. There's another town.
See, I never
there's a
went.
rivalry
I
between
never.
those two towns with like
My experience with Fall of Reach was sort of like
the
after
soccer team and the Salem soccer team.
Halo Reach, and I
let's do a little
read
bit of a rivalry between
the size.
Denver
I
and
love the
Salem
story
in
in
the
Halo.
We were like, okay, what is the theme of Salem? It's witches.
Oh,
it's
What
witches.
do we have? People
Hey
with
Skyville, without
that
spoiling
have weird
anything for
powers.
people in
They're
the audience,
kinda X-Men-ish, but like they're caused by
Nibble is
radiation,
confirming
but
that
they're
we're
viewed as witches
really
by
close
the people of Danvers.
thing
So
with the
there's
images
this
you
sort
gave
of
me.
Like, they're being
Wait, what now?
Persecuted somehow.
That thing with the
We'll
images
get
you
that
gave
witch
me last
theme.
week.
We were using
Oh yeah, don't spoil
the
that.
Skyrim code.
Yeah, I'm not spoiling it,
which
but
had magic built in. So we had.
I put up stuff and Needle told me no, better, and it's going to be a thing and it'll be available to people soon. You're going to have to make a video for that.
Out. And so we're like,
oh yeah, no, don't drop it in the Discords either.
There are no more fireballs. You can't.
Yeah, no hundreds.
Great. So, long story short, that quest had gone through, I want to say, 4 or 5 variations and 4 or 5 designers. And it was this close
Sketchy
to
Rivet
getting
in the
cut.
chat.
And one of the issues
the
was
Stable X / Stable 10. At least what we've
Danvers
what we talked
ended
about
up being
in
right next to
Terminal
Salem.
Secrets
It was so
5.
close,
That
we
was
ended up
just
combining
about
the two. And
sort
so
of
there
Vault
were no two
112,
towns
and
that
then
could
expanded
compete
on
against
with
each
my
other.
other
So
sort
we
of
had to, like, what
story
do we do?
ideas.
We know we have this museum.
with
then
the Matrix
Liam Collins,
idea, and then
one
the
of our
Truman
designers,
Show,
who's
like, you know,
I think one of our
false
newest
reality
quest designers at the
idea,
time,
and then
he was given this
that sort of
quest. He's
Groundhog
like,
Day
"You gotta do
resetting
something
thing
with that.
going
I don't want
on.
to lose
So,
that.
yeah,
I
you know,
want her
kind
to
of
get
like
quest there. What can we
taking
do?
Tranquility
We work
Lane
together.
and building off
And
of
it's a
that,
very,
making it
it's one of
a
the coolest
metaphorical
quests in the game.
skyscraper
It's
of a
such
concept.
cool. It has a totally different vibe. It's basically
Yeah,
like,
the ghoul
what do you
system
do
in
if you have a
Fallout
death
4,
claw
that
that's
was
trapped
by
in a
far
building,
one of the
and trying
bigger
to escape from
improvements.
it. And dude,
I
some of the
love the
sequences
ghouls in
and-
Fallout 4.
I still wish they had like Fallout
Are we
3
gonna trim
looking
it
ghouls
out of
or
it?
more
Is
of
it
them.
still gonna
Like,
be
yeah,
fun?
I like the ghoul
Yeah.
variety in
Just
Fallout
have a
4,
chance
but
to
I
use
wish
it.
they had some Fallout 3 looking ghouls around too.
I like the. I kind of really dug. Sort of the first time I experienced, you know, going through a shop, like a mall or some shit. Oh, it was, I think, a supermarket.
If the team was
And
simplifying
I'm
quests in
chilling,
some
you know,
areas, they
and
were making them far more complex in others. Fallout 3 didn't have
outside, and I
patching
had a
quests.
fucking
The
heart.
team decided to scrub
Like,
them out to make time for other
holy
systems.
shit,
that
that
needed
scared
building.
me,
The
and I was
system
really,
had been
really
introduced
excited.
In
Like,
Fallout New Vegas with
it was.
faction
There were some
alliances
great
having some
choices made in
impact
that
over
game.
The end game. So when it came for BGS to start Fallout 4, they decided to make
Oh
factions
man,
an integral
that
part of the
that
entire Fallout experience.
Institute music. I think that's my favorite musical like environment sting
to make
from
all the
Fallout 4.
factions
Love that
interwoven
Institute.
into the main story.
Pretty good, yeah.
We did not do
I
that
prefer
with these games, and it
Good
kept
Neighbor
things
though.
simpler, but you often felt like, hey, I played the Mages Guild in Skyrim.
I don't know if I remember that.
And they didn't particularly
It
care
just sort
that
of
dragons were attacking
everything
the
there
whole
just sort
world.
of sinks into the
But in
jazzy
this
noir
game,
feel.
all the stories,
and I'm just a sucker for that.
Because my problem was I never spent too much time in Good Neighbor. I'd use it as a hallway to
I
walk
joined
to
the
the memory
railroad, but I
den
want
and
to kill
out for
Sins, but
plot
then I do
points,
this
and
over
that's
here,
about
but then I
it.
join the Brotherhood of Steel,
Yeah.
and I have Dance as a companion, but then I also want to have Strong, and then
Oh, with Sketchy
it was
Rivet.
mind-boggling.
Essentially,
And it worked out really well
the
in
brain
that,
idea came
you
from
know,
the
each
fact that
faction
I had
got their
already
own group
planned
of
out
people
the
to work on
Ice Mare
things, so
story,
they got
and I'd already
ownership of
sort
it
of
and
set
got
up
to
the
kinda run with
the
it.
limitation that
So,
cryogenics
even
was
though the
very
Brotherhood feels a
tricky
little bit
in
evil,
in our side of the
I
horse
particularly
nuclear
enjoyed it.
universe,
Yeah,
and
from
so
my
I was like,
perspective, Fallout
what
4
would
is
be
our most
something really
accomplished title of the
freaky
game.
for
Like, that
people
game was
that wasn't
playable
like we
way-
heavily
like, far earlier
implied
than
that
any
it's
other
like
game
the
we
Vault
had.
112 cryogenic
we were
or
playtesting it far
loungers,
earlier.
but
We
then
had
we take
all
that
our
away from
processes
them,
and
and we have
tools
some
and
big twist at the
technology
end,
and,
and yeah, then
it was
I'm sure we
pretty
could find
rock
that dialogue where I messaged James. What would that have been? Like 2016, and I was like, dude, what if for this we pull out and then their brains and they can't ever leave?
The thing is, that idea and discussed it with me was you said, I have an
I think there's
idea,
a camaraderie,
and I'm going to have to make Kelly
and there's a
do
shared
the most
history.
disgusting sound
So when
design
you go to
possible,
that
and that
meeting
was how
and
I
you
discovered
see
the brain.
That up
Oh,
there, there's
yeah.
a sense of pride.
No,
like,
I'm going
I
to,
can go through
you
a list
saying
of,
that
like,
you,
yeah, I've worked with that guy for 20 years and this person for 18 years.
And
it's
this is
not
how.
enough of us. Where
Oh,
these are the
man.
games we
and
would
it was
run out
like
to buy.
I
We
really read
enjoy
up
the
on
games.
like on
More
like
so we
brains to
enjoy
get like a
doing it
lot
with
of
each
kind of
other.
feel, like
And if
kind of
we
like
didn't,
put
we
that
wouldn't
in,
still
get in the mood for
all
writing
be
that scene
here.
because
I think
yeah,
it's
I
like-
watched like
it's a
2
lot of work.
dissections of like cutting
spend
every
more
individual
time-
nerve of the brain free from the
I spent
body,
more
and it
time
was
with the Elder
going
Scrolls.
down the line of like, okay, the blood
And
like
Fallout, or even
vessels, and then the
Elder Scrolls,
vagus
and anything
nerve
in
and
my
ocular
entire
nerves, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
anything.
it's so horrible.
Family,
Like, you know, a dozen connections that
that,
connect
like,
you
keep
to
out.
this, you know, walking
And
meat machine.
that has to mean something
and it's like,
to
oh my
everybody.
god.
Or we won't,
So dissociative.
You know, we'll do below average work, or people will move on.
You know
or
what
it's just a
really
joke.
popped in my head when that was reviewed at
But
the
there's a certain
Have you ever seen Psychopaths?
there's a certain vibe in the studio
Nah.
that I think a lot of us get a sense of.
Is that
I don't
a
know
movie?
if you're coming
I
in.
don't think I have.
I don't know if you do or don't. You're spending limited time. It's sort of that thing like
Spoiler,
you could do
but,
something, but if you do it with other
there's
people,
a bunch of
it's
brains
it's
involved
just
in that
far more
pretty big
meaningful,
way.
right? And it's like we're always trying to do too much. We're like, have we bitten off more than we can chew? Of course, like that's who we are, and we won't always get like all the way there. But I'd rather shoot for it and then see where we end up than be safe.
Thank you for joining us on our journey through the history of Bethesda Game Studios.
Bearing Crow in the chat. Yeah, unintentionally is a good word because I really, of course, I've read a lot of Fallout lore. I'm pretty versed in the Vaultpedia without getting into details. But I really try to foster the ideas in the way. It's the same way that why I don't listen to any other Nuclear Horse fanfiction, because I don't want to steal other people's ideas and sort of like be as original as I can in projecting them into our writing. So So, of course, I knew about Brains from everything like, you know, what's his name, Cromwell in Point Lookout, and the Robo-Brain stuff, and the whole Traumatron DLC, and some of those old tactics and Fallout 1 and 2 stuff. But yeah, you try to be original. So actually, that's why in a lot of ways Vault 112 was used as a misdirection, because then, having that frame of mind for people, everyone thought, okay, they're gonna hop out of the thing at the end. Nope, there's no getting out, you fucking dead, boy!
There is no leaving the Stapleton experiment.
Exactly.
Which, that was sort of, very unintentional motto of that episode.
That was so good. I was really happy with that.
Alrighty, on the making of 76 if you want, but I've got to go, you know, do work stuff.
Oh no.
Actual life responsibilities are very depressing.
Shit, I might have to reset the room anyway. I don't know if I can change clips to another thing.
Alright, so you continue with the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I will bid you all farewell. You can all expect a really interesting announcement coming soon.
Oh man, we have
Be
so
excited.
many good stuff. I mean, I've been posting on Facebook and Twitter about the Mercenary like nonstop. It's been so great. We're like 50% edited. We have 2 hours basically done, and so good. So good.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Don't spoil anything for people. Okay. So I am getting this ready for everyone. Okay, now let's get a fresh invite for people. Okay. Let me not drop that in the Booty Barn chat. 76 Doc. Anyone still here? The chat go dead. Hello?
I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Well then, so if you guys want, there's the new room link. All right, we got that. And Nettle, do you want to join us in the room or nah?
Yeah, just give me a second.
And we got yeah, I guess I've tried to pay attention to the chat. I don't think we missed anything. Got yeah, Maple Bucks and then $2. Okay. Well then, this one's shorter, much shorter, so we'll be able to get through this.
I've been ignoring it, to be honest. I'm trying to do some other things and watching this at the same time.
That's fine. And yeah, we'll get whatever Fallout 76 news goodness is in here. Hell yeah, there's the Quantum.
Hello friends and welcome to the woods of West Virginia. Perhaps not the most traditional location for a Fallout game, but then 76 isn't exactly a traditional Fallout game. Now is it? Is it Larry? So lonely.
We've been making game design documentaries for a while now, but this was the first time we had the experience of being embedded in a studio before a game had even been announced. If you've watched our doc on the history of Bethesda Game Studios, you know that this part of the design window, the final 9 months or so, is when the entire team is playing the game, tinkering with mechanics, and putting in those final details. By this stage, nobody on the team had ever said the words Fallout 76 in front of camera.
Our time in the studio began around 6 weeks before the reveal of the game at E3, so a lot of what you're about to watch was recorded while fundamental decisions about the game were still being made. So we came prepared and had 3 fundamental questions that we wanted to have answered by the time we left the studio. Number 1, we wanted to know the story behind its development. Number 2, we wanted to explore the world of West Virginia. And number 3, we wanted to dive as deep into the gameplay as we possibly could and find out what exactly you'll be doing while playing Fallout 76. Oh, and we really wanted to know what was going on with Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6, but we'll probably wait until the end before we drop those questions on Todd.
So, first things first, where did the idea for this multiplayer Fallout even come from? And how did the team at Bethesda Game Studios land on West Virginia?
Probably fucking Todd.
Since debuting Vault 76 last year in honor of America's tercentenary, Vault-Tec continues to expand with plans for well over 100
Did you say tercentenary?
Around the country.
The hell was that?
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be tricentennial.
Yeah. That was like a mush word. Like, okay, let me.
In our previous documentary, we covered the development of Fallout 4, but what we didn't mention then was that during this period, the team was also designing 76.
76 is the multiplayer design from Fallout 4.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No one said that?
No.
But the idea was too big at the time, and so it was put to one side so the studio could focus on the single player. At this stage, the team at Bethesda Game Studios in Maryland was over 100 people strong, but they didn't have much experience in making online games, neither in terms of their design or in terms of their technology. But it was around this time that parent company ZeniMax opened a new studio in Austin, Texas, a studio that might just be able to help them out.
ZeniMax had opened Battlecry Studios, which was made up of a lot of like MMO experts in the Austin area. People who, like, you know, Chris and Doug go way back to Ultima Online and Star Wars Galaxy. I own amazing
that.
Staff here, and they were building a really cool game. But the lead programmer on 76, Jason, had been the client lead on Star Wars. He knew them all. Right. We were talking about it, and he's like, hey, you know, those are the guys to do it. And I'll admit, I was like, hey, you know, we could hire. I'd gotten approval to hire, you know, server back-end people and all of that, but I, you know, have been through that. And hey, if you have a team that works really well together, that is interested in working with you on it, like, hey, let's try to do that. So they started it before we shipped Fallout 4.
A month before Fallout 4 was released, Battlecry Studios went through a significant round of layoffs, as their free-to-play action title Battlecry was indefinitely put on hold. During all of this, the team in Maryland was transitioning onto Fallout 4 DLC and spinning up Starfield. So BGS asked the folks in Austin if they'd take a swing at retrofitting multiplayer capabilities into the Fallout 4 engine. Using tech from another sister studio in Richardson, Texas, Battlecry started trying to implement the Quake netcode into the Fallout engine, a massive undertaking that posed significant challenges, even for some of the most experienced network engineers in the business.
Oh yeah, that's awful engineering. Just going through millions of lines of code and spot checking shit. Oh, do not have the patience for it.
This engine has been around since Morrowind, at least. Some of the cool things, like when you dig through the code, is like you get to see, oh my God, this was used back in this game that I used to play like when I was barely out of college, right? Like nothing was developed with multiple players in mind. So all over the code, there's, you know, what is the player doing, right? I want you to give a quest to the player, or well, it's like, well, that has to go. So one way to look at it is the entire engine was based around a world with a player. Now that has to sort of change to, you need to base it around the player who could be in any world. So just that statement alone implies many, many, many changes. It's like the game doesn't load except around one player.
There's this thing we refer to as Atlas. And Atlas is, because there was one guy in the game, we called him Atlas because he held up the world. Because the world that you have only had to be accessed by one player, so they were tightly intertwined. So what we had to do is essentially decouple Atlas from the world so there could be multiple people.
Wherever Atlas went, that's where it was loaded. So for many months, it's like you couldn't go away from Atlas as another player. It's like if you did, you would crash because you're outside the realm of what was actually loaded. So a big effort was just changing that aspect as well. But then you know, it sort of spreads out. So all of the quests that you get in like a Skyrim or a Fallout, they're all based around the quest itself, because the quest, you know, the quest is its own entity. You need to re-architect that, because multiple people could all be on the same quest, and they could all be in different stages. So really the quest data needs to live on the character, no longer on the quest itself. So that was very challenging as well, not only just in retooling the way the scripting stuff works, just getting, you know, the design team to start thinking about it from that perspective.
The first thing is it's a mindset change. You have folks who have been making single-player quests here for so long, and what does it mean to be able to support more than one player? So there's a lot of things that go into that. Oh, how many people read a note at once, or who gets this bit of the story? And those are things we've never had to think about before. It's just stored on the client or the server, like those crazy, like those, what is that? Like things that, there are reasons why we never got into multiplayer
have so
before.
many fucking bugs.
Battlecry had figured out how to modify the engine to work with multiplayer, even if quite how many people the world could support remained to be seen. Meanwhile, back in Maryland, a small group of leads were tasked with brainstorming this multiplayer Fallout
I already
project.
have 76.
They realized that just sticking multiplayer into an old Fallout map wouldn't cut it. To retain the same sense of scale
Not
with multiple
quite.
people,
Waiting
the
on
world
the
would
actual
need to be
release,
big,
but I have
really
the
big.
code to get
Plus,
into
by
it.
this stage, they'd been building
Yeah, I
cities
know.
for
I
two
saw
Fallout
a
games.
rumor
What
that
if they did
the
something
pre-orders
more
went up again,
rural,
and I just-
less desolate?
I missed it again,
The team
if
had
there
looked
was
locally
one.
for the location of Fallout 3, and so they did the same here. Except this time, instead of looking south,
I
they
didn't get
glanced
the
west
helmet,
towards the
but I did
vast
get the
wilderness
Tricentennial.
of West
Actually, you know what? I think
Virginia.
the Tricentennial version is the one with the helmet.
No, the Power Armor Edition is. The Tricentennial's like the step below that.
Actually, every game starts
I
with a
thought
map.
that said West
Fallout
Vagina.
76, we decided,
West
you know, it's
Vagina.
going to be set in West Virginia, and the first thing we did is we made the map.
I like
I
that.
was very
We've always
concerned
been
for a
4
second.
times the size
That
of
implies
Fallout
that
4. It was
there's
pretty
other
big.
the vaginas
Todd
in
sits with
play
designers
here.
and to figure out, you know, what story points we're going to
Ooh,
have.
an 8-tooth
There was
cog
just
wheel
the small
on the
handful of us
76.
leads, like deciding what to do, like starting to lay out the map of the world, and figuring
I dig
out
that
how to like, take an entire
Mothman
state
shirt.
and shrink it down. Because before we did,
I like the
you know,
incorporation
a
of West
city and then
Virginia,
the
like
area
urban
around it, but we
legends.
decided
That's
to do
really clever.
all of West Virginia.
I mean, I think we picked West Virginia because it was still East Coast, and it was a place that isn't really touched. Like, if there ever were a nuclear war, like none of us would be here. DC's done. We're first. So I'm perfectly content to know that I will not have to deal with any of that stuff. But West Virginia, like no one's going to nuke West Virginia. So we were thinking that we would be able to do more of like we would be able to do trees. We'd be able to do an interesting visual look. The leads went out to West Virginia at the start of the project to look for landmarks and places to go.
So we find out what are like our landmarks that we want. Like we know we want Morgantown and the Summersville Lake and stuff, and we take the real map and just start to like redraw it and remix it a little bit to find out how we want things to flow. Because West Virginia also isn't a square, but we kind of had to like
Rivet
take.
in the chat.
Like Harper's Ferry is so cool,
Dixieland
but it's
Fallout.
way
I
out
mean,
here,
I know Van Buren was
poking
gonna be set
over
in
Maryland,
Texas,
like
and then there's
kind of shove it back in.
The state of West Virginia didn't only provide the team with a massive
that
landmass
Fallout
to play
Miami
with, but as it
idea,
happens, the
Fallout
lore of West
Florida kind of
Virginia
idea could
was
be
full of myth and conspiracies
there's the
that
US
fit perfectly
nuclear
into the
subbase
Fallout
in,
universe.
in
West
Georgia,
Virginian
but it's, like,
myths
right
are
over the
among
border,
the
so that could be
creepiest
in
in American folklore. Isolated villages trapped in vast, unforgiving wilderness has fueled terrifying
Fallout
stories of
Disneyland.
creatures that prey on
Disneyland.
unfortunate souls.
Of course, my
There's
main
the Grafton
suggestion
monster,
is still,
a giant
Fallout,
pale-skinned,
Hawaii.
headless horror that prowls the woods outside of Grafton. There's the Flatwood monster.
Have you
with
seen
its
like the
terrifying
pictures of
cowl
the
and beady
Mickey
eyes.
Mouse
The
and
Snallygaster,
Donald
a
and Goofy
dragon-like
gas
demon that
masks?
haunts an
Yeah,
area outside of
those
neighboring
are-
DC.
those are something
and of
else.
course the
Man.
Mothman, a winged beast
Cold
with
War was
piercing
something.
red eyes that prey on those in the
Right.
Point Pleasant area. Like wandering the real woods of West Virginia, the
man,
world of
this is gonna be
Fallout
great.
76 is full of monsters to hunt or be hunted by.
Oh my
There are
gosh,
far
a
more
Fallout in
creatures
the Pacific
76 too,
Northwest with
more varied types
Sasquatches.
of enlarged
Ooh,
insects,
yeah.
and everything from two-headed
Seattle,
possums to
I mean, there's
giant
tons
sloths,
of
and
military
even
stuff in
intelligent
Seattle.
plants.
Yeah, the Mothman's incredible because like it's a different thing. We've never done it before. We're hoping to do stages to him, you know, early on in the
You
game.
could
that he's
you
just
could drive
stalking
your
you.
own aircraft
Like,
carrier
you know,
right
you just see
out
these
of there.
creepy
That
little
would be
eyes
sweet.
like in the dark.
Because it's closer to when the bombs actually detonated, so there's more radiation, so you can get crazier mutants and giant plants because it's more radiated at that time. You know, it's half-life. It's going to decrease over time.
Right.
So that's our justification. Like, well, I haven't seen that in future Fallouts. It's like maybe that was like such a bad mutation that they died out. But here, like, it still exists, and it's like in full swing.
While the team had been adding plenty more new creatures to battle, they hummed and hawed over the inclusion of other AI humans. They wanted to make sure the feeling of running into other humans was special, and if the world was full of raiders, then instead of hearing distant gunfire and knowing it was another player, they'd spend large parts of the game trying to discern if somebody was human or an AI. On top of that, the lore of the game couldn't really support the idea of raiders. Fallout 76 takes place 25 years after the bombs were dropped. Vault 76 is one of a number of control vaults, meaning that instead of doing weird experiments on those inside, this vault was genuinely used to house people for a generation before leaving them out to rebuild society again. So this world has yet to be reclaimed by one faction or another, and so the decision was made to leave West Virginia
so
bereft of
soon
other
after the
humans.
bombs,
But
like
this
only
caused
25
a problem.
years. Wow.
Gun combat with AI is a central pillar of the Fallout experience. So
Yeah, in
they
the
leaned
opening
into the
trailer,
lore
it has a
and
clock
created a
on,
new faction of intelligent ghouls
2102,
called
I
the
think.
Scorched.
Where they're kind of like feral ghouls that are not quite so far gone. They still know how to use guns. So that's essentially our raiders, are the Scorched. But yeah, then most of the other things are just all the creatures and things like that. And I think it's like 63 things that we have now, because we had all the ones that we had before, updated and fixed those, and then add all these new ones too.
The map of 76 is large, but it's been divided into a half-dozen areas with their own flavor and difficulty. While you may emerge into the relative beauty of a green forest, there are much less forgiving areas of the map for you to explore. A hollowed-out mountaintop, soggy floodlands, festering toxic wastelands, swampy woods, and a colossal mountain range that bisects the entire map. The new dynamic weather system can also have an impact on the player, with distant rad storms warding off expedition parties. There's a lot of space between things in this map, meaning coming across new locations should feel like uncovering something that's been hidden forever. Quiet cabins, abandoned wood mills, tall treetop watchtowers, flooded mines, and abandoned barbecue joints. All of these littering a landscape alongside cities and towns of all sizes, nuclear missile silos, and even a crashed space station. The world of 76 is larger and more detailed than their previous games, and featuring a bunch of new
I mean, it would
technology
make sense.
that the
They
team may
can't
just be
stay up
testing
forever
out
without human
for future
intervention.
games.
Oh yeah,
They
it's
have
like
a
the
new system
mirror,
to
just
propagate
down,
woods, a
or it
vastly
wasn't really
improved
downing it,
dynamic
it's just
lighting
letting
model,
it fall.
subsurface scattering, and far more complex animations for creatures who are going to be attacked by multiple players for the very first time.
So we do get sort of like the typical Fallout areas in certain spots. Like when you first start in the game, it's kind of nice and welcoming, but then you get to the crappier, dangerous parts and get the more traditional feel. Because this area it was like factories and things like that, and our justification for why it's all caked in white powder is that those factories were like full of chemicals and everything spilled out. With all the hills
kinda
and
cool, though,
the
taking over a factory
topography
and,
of
like,
the
getting
area,
something
it's
working
really
again.
beneficial for that. Because Fallout 4 was actually like a really flat game, so it's hard to get those landmarks. Thankfully, there's like skyscrapers and Diamond City, that giant glow. But in this case, we have like an entire mountain range that bisects the map. So we can take that and put all these different landmarks on that. Like we made this ski resort called the Top of the World, which basically looks like a giant red UFO. And that's like a thumbtack in the middle of the map that you can orient yourself around. And then we have the giant bucket wheel excavator on another side. But it's also designed in that way where you're supposed to sort of lose where you're at once you go down in those hills. So you're deep in the valley. You're like, where am I at? And so you're encouraged to actually then go up the hill, and then we put all these like watchtowers and stuff, so then you're like, that's where I am, and pull out the binoculars and look around.
Fallout 76 features a number of different biomes inspired by real-world locations. The team is attempting to replicate that feeling of stumbling upon new areas from their previous games, and just like their other maps, West Virginia has become a template for storytelling. The state's cranberry bogs with their carnivorous plants seem like the perfect spot to introduce some wild mutations. So too does the mountaintop removal mining region of the state, which evokes the post-apocalyptic feeling all on its own. But West Virginia also taps into the Cold War conspiracies evoked in the Fallout games. West Virginia is the location of the United States Radio Quiet Zone, a 13,000 square mile region used for research and military intelligence. And West Virginia is also the home to the original location of the presidential nuclear bunker, located underneath the Greenbrier Hotel. Riffing off of all these real-world locations is something the team has enjoyed. They have a hotel too, but their hotel and its adjoining golf course have something else going on. Well, we sort of don't want to spoil it. In fact, it seems like much of the joy of this game comes from stumbling upon interesting elements of world building that the team has been working on, and toying with the increased array of clothing to be discovered on your journey.
So there's this town, Helvetia, in the absolute middle of nowhere. Right. And it's a Swiss-German village, and they love making cheese, but they also have this festival where they build these papier-mâché masks. And so we built 10 of them. There's all different kinds. And like the owl one in particular is pretty popular. And there's like crazy jesters and skulls, but they're all kind of like handmade looking. Those are a big hit when it comes to photo mode.
What is my favorite area in the game right now? I have to say Charleston is. It's where the first responders are. So it's like an old fire department where you can like find firemen's uniforms and that kind of stuff. And there's a terminal where you can take the training course, and it's like, what do you do when you're seeing gas come in for the vents? And do you put your arm over your nose? Do you run out screaming, or do you light a match? That kind of stuff. Great Fallout humor.
I'm playing the game and I come across this lighthouse in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, why the hell is there a lighthouse in the middle of nowhere? Like, oh, that's a real thing. That's in West Virginia. West Virginia has stuff like that.
That's awesome. I want to Google that now. What?
We've learned how this game came together, and we've explored the world of West Virginia, so it's time to answer our next question. What exactly are you going to be doing in Fallout 76? There's been a lot of rumor over the past few weeks as to how much like a regular numbered Fallout game 76 really is, and it seems to be the question that the team has also been struggling with. How do you retain the elements of those games that work while doing something interesting? And how do you do something interesting without just cribbing off of other survival games? The version of 76 we look at today is the end result of months of playtesting and discussions, so before we dive into the specifics, let's start with the basics. Fallout 76 is online. You can play as a lone wanderer if you so choose, but there are no private maps or offline mode to speak of. There is a story and there are quests, but the focus of this game is on the player dictating what they want to do that day. Perhaps you want to discover a new part of the map, or find parts to craft a specific weapon. Maybe you want to kill a monster to get a high quality drop. Maybe you want to build a camp, claim one of the map's public workshops, or team up with others to take on events.
Super mutants are attacking, Aunt Mabel's farm. So you'll go over and to protect from super mutants, and you don't know, like, will 10 other Yaguais come running in at the same time because someone trained them in from across the mountain. There's public workshops where you can go in and claim
they
them.
got West
you have to kill the
Virginia
monsters in there.
Sasquatch.
Hell yeah.
There might be events spawning once you take them.
And they
Depends
got
on
giant
the
bats
situation,
that
the
can be
timing,
like
the
the
area.
dragons.
And
Like
when you
in
take them and you
Skyrim.
fortify them, you actually have access to resources.
Fly
that
the
are
giant
super
bats.
valuable.
Oh my god, yes.
So
An
you'll
army
get
of
access
giant bats.
to ore, some kind of ore, lead. And then lead's used for make bullets, and then you can make bullets, which in that game, any of these games is super helpful, right? So you take that for a reason. Then, like I said, you have your camp, which are mini workshops you can place almost anywhere. There's certain restrictions on that because we don't want you like the griefing outside the exit of the vault, but you can place them all over. They go, when you move servers, if that space is available, your camp will just be there. For some reason, again, this is a big game with a low number of people. It's overlapping and we can't place it there. It will be packed up and blueprinted. You can place it somewhere else. Boom. And then the crafting is a huge part of the game because again, you're going to want to find very specific creatures or flora to combine for recipes. We are allowing crafting mods, crafting guns, crafting ammo, food, water, armor, power armor pieces, like the stuff that was there before and more.
Fallout 76 involves survival elements, but survival can so easily become a hindrance to fun. The work to find a balance between giving the player tasks they have to complete and not just overburdening them with chores has been a key focus over the past few months.
Here's an example I like to give. I have to brush my teeth every day or they'll rot and fall out of my head. I don't want to do that in a video game. I just don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is fun in the parts of survival and what is not fun in the parts of survival? So you have to eat and drink to stay alive. I heard a funny anecdote the other night. Someone was playing the game and they were starving and they wandered into a herd of cats. And they're like, I've never been happier to see a herd of cats because then I got to eat.
Wow.
So terrible, but. And then you can build a cooking stove, like most survival games, make the food more efficient. You know, we put diseases in. We have something called mutations.
I like how you can
so
eat the cats.
Fallout 4, we had that inverse meter for your health and your rads. The more rads you had, the less your health was, and you're able to cure that. So in this game, the more rads you have, the more chances you get mutated. And they have all sorts of neat, like they're almost like traits from Fallout 1 and 2.
Oh man, can you become a ghoul now?
Ooh, you can cure them if you don't like
this.
them, or there's ways to permanently get them if there's ones you really like. Way late game stuff. But yeah, you'll get these mutations, and they're mostly gameplay. They're not. Some of them are visual, but they're mostly gameplay side stuff that like tweak your character a little.
I get to be a real life doopy now.
Hell yeah!
Another balancing act was making sure that this stuff was compelling and not just a chore.
Are you going to get the perk cards that allow you to craft more things more efficiently? And we added from Fallout 3, we added back in items degrade now, food rots, so you're never quite comfortable. But as you progress in power, you can decide, like, I'm going to focus on cooking. And then you might want to vent, you can sell these things.
I'm going to focus
on
people cooking.
So you're like, I make the best ribeye steak in the game. It'll overfill you and give you a health bonus. And
I kind of like that.
Go, 40
That's fun.
caps, you know.
Each time you level up in Fallout 76,
you're probably going to
perk card.
get to the point where one person is just making a bunch of food and shit and selling it for ammo and stuff.
Yeah!
You can also share perk cards within a party, meaning that teams of players can specialize to work together more efficiently.
Tool their characters such that they are better at survival elements of the game than you. Might be combat-y, other person might be more for a medic, one person might be more, workshop like defenses and repair. So you decide you want to focus in on crafting. You have to find the recipes in the world. You get recipes all sorts of places, quests and random drops and loot. And so there's a lot. Like compared to Fallout 4, there are orders of magnitude more. And so you'll find the ones that are most efficient. A lot of them have pluses and minuses. I think that's more fun. It allows a player to make decisions. So one might make you more like susceptible to disease, but give you a huge health buff. Anyway, you'll be able to focus on that.
Cards
you can trade them with your friends. We're exploring the possibility of allowing you to set up a robot vendor in a hub area. So you have a robot vendor, and that's your vendor, and you go up. And again, we're exploring things. But again, live game, long term, there's also the possibilities are endless.
There are a lot of systems working in Fallout 76, and BGS's hope is that by introducing all these ways to play, they have a game world that is capable of creating emergent moments. They have to do some work to make sure it's not total chaos, for instance, giving wanted levels to aggressive players and having it so that the death penalizes light is making you respawn at a nearby location. The game allows for several types of player
thank you for
communication,
joining us,
everything
and
from
we'll
voice
definitely
chat
talk
to
about
an
all this and
emote
more
and even
later
a
on
photo
in
mode that
another
came out of one of the
podcast.
studios.
And also, we'll
But
do a
according
what
to
to fix
Todd, the
sometime
design
again
of
soon.
this multiplayer Fallout is an exercise
yeah, we
in
could probably
not
do
just
that
knowing
maybe
when to
next
control the
weekend
player,
before I go on
but
my trip.
crucially,
that'd
when
be fun.
not to.
Once we were really playing together
Talk to you later.
and saw that collision of people and systems,
Don't worry,
that's
Chad,
when you
I'm
say
still
like,
here.
oh, this is
I'm still here for you.
This is still Fallout. Like if you sit down and play it,
This is still Fallout.
It
Thank you,
feels
Todd.
like Fallout, but its loop and mood are very different. The other players are a system that we don't control in a great way. Let's not shy away from it. Let's kind of solve it. Let them collide. And where there's extra bad griefing or systems, we have a number of levers in place. But that for me is where a lot of the drama is. Like, let's let them all collide. And it'll be messy for a little bit, but we can solve it. I'd rather do that than like play it safe. It's like boring. You can sit though in any design meeting and come up with like a list of reasons not to do something.
Right.
It's pretty easy. Like, well, I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about this, and I'm like, I'm worried it's gonna be boring. Like, let's at least try it. Like this is what we do. Like, you know, let's at least like, if this is a vibe we want, let's go at it.
One of the elements the team struggled with was figuring out how many players should be able to play together at once. It's a decision that involved both engineering and game design. On one hand, you have to look at the servers and see how many players they can support and keep that same level of fidelity we're used to in games like Fallout 4. And on the other hand, the game designers want to know how often players should run into each other to try and keep that moment special.
So yeah, that's been a challenge. It's like, how do we keep the feel of these games, like where it's a world where you can interact with everything, and because that's part of the appeal of a Skyrim, right? It's like you see a jar on a table, you can pick up and mess with the jar, you can knock it off, and you can do whatever you want.
I hate that he just called it a Skyrim. That bothers me.
Yeah, it's a continual balancing act. That's part of the art, right? It's like, you know, do you cut content or do you do more technical work to try to make the content work? And it's like it's a call.
We had some very grand plans for this game, which I think, you know, once we talk about more later, will actually come to fruition. But the game we're very proud of right now that we're going to ship is
in
about
general,
24
people are used to
people on it, so
Bethesda
24
games
to
where it's
30
like, yeah, the
to-
first 6
one of
months
the
is
things
all
that Todd pushed for the whole
bugs,
time,
and then
which we
waiting
were all
for people
scared
to
about
make
a little
mods
bit.
that fix
You're
bugs
going to open up the paper
that
map and see
they
this
aren't
huge area,
going
and you're
to
going to see
or
what
going
they're
too
like,
slow.
wow. For good or ill.
It's kind of
right?
the
So
magic.
do you want to go
you
help
know?
them? Do you
It's
see
something
them?
we're all
They're
used
doing
to
this huge
now.
event that you can join in and get the big
They
reward.
trained us.
Do you want to try to shoot them? However, that our PvP system ends up working out. You know, do you want to trade with them? They will become friends that you follow across all the servers. So all the servers are you know 24-person instance. You load in, you go in. It'll be full of people. You'll be able to play with them, quest with them, or ignore them. Have your teams and buddies. Like if you're my buddy, and you load in the game, I can just jump and immediately join you in your world, and it's seamless. Like it's basically a load screen, you're in. We wanted to make it fun for a single player, right? We wanted to make it fun for teams. Our team limit right now is 4. It's all adjustable. But our team limit right now is 4. So we wanted to make it fun for co-op 4-person level gameplay, and we wanted to make it fun for bigger, like 12-on-12 death matches, right? And we're trying to, like we normally do, we're trying to jam it all in and hope it all works out.
Fallout 76 is a live game, meaning that, like games like Destiny or Warframe, eventually players are going to reach the point where they've done most of what there is to do. The studio has been working on a team deathmatch mode, which should help, but one of the challenges they've had was to introduce an endgame that was hard enough to challenge high-level players, while also somewhat repeatable. What they landed on was a cyclical nuclear war. The map of 76 has a number of nuclear bunkers. Teams of players will have to work together not only to find the nuclear codes, but to solve puzzles to reveal them, and to push the button to launch the nukes.
The end goal in this game is this. It's a cyclical story with the nukes. And these huge winged bat-like creatures crawl up out of the world called scorch beasts. You're supposed to find the nuke codes, to kill them, to seal their fissures. That also, again, irradiates the world. It'll put a big, you know, the nuclear weather there, and all the flora and fauna will then change to be higher level and have rarer drops. You know, rare crafting materials in certain sought after, basically items and materials. Legendary, going back to the legendary system, we added more tiers to the legendary system for weapons and armor. So you'll find those things there, and then that area will fade down over a certain period of time, and players will have to find the nukes again. And depending on where you nuke, different things will appear because there'll be different flora and fauna there.
Interesting.
How are they deciding? Are they working together against the world, or are they working together against themselves? And then what happens when you get a group of people that want to work against other players versus a group of players who want to work against the world, and then they get nukes?
And then
Do they create an online Cold War? Do they all just decide to just blow up everything? So I think the nuke part is probably the one I'm most interested in seeing what they do. And we're trying to make it fun where it's fun to just launch them. Because it's very hard to all right, you have the codes to a nuclear missile. You're like, you know what, I don't want to launch it. If you can sort of incentivize them to, hey, it's gonna be really fun to launch it where people aren't, and make that part of the world this high-level zone. So that kind of design I like a lot. Okay, it's gonna be a high-level zone, you're gonna roll in your power armor, you're gonna make this really hard level for yourself. I'm really interested in what people do there.
Yeah, Dokidamon in the chat.
The teams
yeah,
in
it's you
Austin
come
and
out of the
Maryland are
vault
being
and you
supported
play it
by a
all
third
over again and
studio
nuke
in
the world and
Montreal.
go back in the
The
vault for
studio
25
responsible
years.
for the
It's
mobile success story
perfect.
of Fallout Shelter is also working on their next mobile title, Blades.
Oh, no one
we'll have a
gives a shit.
fascinating documentary on the development of Shelter and Blades in the coming weeks.
Would you like to know
Montreal
about
has also
the
been helping
mobile
with the
games?
development of 76,
No.
but once the
No,
game
I
is
would not,
released,
thank
much of
you.
Maryland and Montreal will move onto Starfield. Maryland will
Yeah,
continue to be in
man.
charge of the
I gotta
creative
say,
direction
I'm kind of
76,
excited for
but the majority of live
Starfield.
game
When I
support
first
will
heard the
be
rumors
done
about
in
that
Austin.
in like what
Fallout 76 is a
2017,
full-priced
that sounded
game, but the team is
that sounded
planning to
really
support
cool.
the game
The idea of
with
like
free updates for years
Fallout
to come. The
3
game will feature
or, you know,
microtransactions,
style
but Bethesda
RPG,
told
but
us
in
that these would only
space
come in the form
stations,
of
and then maybe you
cosmetics.
take your ship. You
Bethesda
know,
said that
it's
this
like
is a
Mass
crucial
Effect. That was always
element
my
of
problem with
allowing
Mass
them to
Effect. Is
support
it just
dedicated
didn't
servers and
feel
keep
right. I was
DLC
already
free.
a pretty
And
like, you know,
purchasable
hardcore
cosmetics
like
available
Fallout person
will
by
also
that
be
point,
available
and I'm like,
to earn through
it's
gameplay.
not the same.
Chris, who's
It's
worked
not
on supporting
right.
online games since Ultima
It's too
Online,
slow for me.
gave us some insight into how
For a
they
number of
plan to
reasons.
support
A lot of the
Fallout
cutscenes
76
were way too slow.
post-launch.
That's for damn
Yeah,
sure.
the plans are still coming together, but we do have a plan. So the plan is to, have part of the team sort of support the game, roll out as much content updates as possible to keep the game fresh. I think if you've been around live games, you know that they live or die by how fast you can get updates out. So we need to be able to push, decent updates out at a regular rate. at the same time have some of the team working on big content beats, right? So we want to have some people working on something a little bit larger for people to consume, and have those sort of
DLC,
hit
so
at longer intervals. So if you can sort of imagine it, you know, you have one long beat, which is the larger content update.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Fallout 76 could almost have World of Warcraft style expansions every year or two, where it's like, okay, welcome to, you know, was it Pandaria or the Lich King or I guess Cataclysm? They like reset everything.
That's the plan, right? So I guess what's that military adage is like, yeah, every plan is great until the first shot's fired.
Right.
So I imagine we'll have to be doing a lot of adjustments to the plan as soon as it goes live. So I think part of that is you can plan out all the content you want, but then once players start playing the game and you can observe how they play the game, what they like and what they don't like, you need to change the plan based on that stuff. You need to give the players something that they're passionate about. As a designer, you might think that this feature you put into the game is really, really cool and nobody plays it. Well, you probably shouldn't double down on the thing that nobody plays. You should probably double down on the features that the people actually play. So we might have to change our plans based upon how we see players working with the game when they play it.
If there's anything we've learned about the evolution of games over the past few years, it's that the success of Fallout 76 will depend as much on the game they have built as how they support it going forward. And to do so, this plucky little studio of 130 or so people who made
look
Fallout
at the dog
4
meat in this
is going to
corner
have
there.
to scale
So
up.
cute.
In our previous documentary, we showed how the development of Morrowind was the inflection point for the studio, the moment they begin to figure out their process, a process they would develop and hone over the next 4 games. And so too has it been on Starfield. From what we gathered during our time at the studio,
I think we're back
Starfield
now.
sounds
Sorry,
like a
guys.
monumental
It's,
undertaking. A
I
game
don't know,
Todd
it
has wanted
happens
to make for a long, long time. Perhaps a game they would have made had they not successfully acquired the Fallout franchise. Perhaps now he feels like the team finally has the resources to pull it off. In any case, it's not the only project they're working on. Pre-production on The Elder Scrolls 6 has also started.
Not the only thing
I love
that's
how they had to
announced
put
at
both of
E3.
those
You
out
guys
there
are
at
coming
the
out swinging
B3 also.
with
Be like,
bunch
okay
of
guys,
stuff
we are
coming out for
working
the
on
future
this.
as well.
Please calm down.
Will
Please
it be
stop
weird to
asking
say
us
the word
questions.
Starfield in front of people?
What'd you just say? You gotta watch that, man. Someone will hear you.
Like,
just even hear you say it is
possible
weird.
expansions, the Burning Mountains,
We've been
the
working
Ghoul
on
King,
it for.
Myths of the Striped
That's
Snake,
another one that's
like
had a
that.
long go. I think the trademark got registered in 2015.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm
which is
hoping
what
we can
most
have
people have
one
glommed
consolidated
onto.
nuclear horror
So all of the
with,
internet
like,
rumors,
all
we've
the
never said a
bros
word.
and-
They just take
and
that
Pegasus
nugget
or whatever,
and their mind
Prometheus.
goes to the right places. You know,
all
the
of
internet's
us and
smart.
our
fans are really
and,
smart.
like all the Fallout,
and so you
all
feel
the
like
Fallout
it's
Equestria
good to
fans. That would be
acknowledge
really
it. They're all
fun.
saying it like, yes, that is what we're doing. But as far as announcing Starfield, very excited to do it. A little bit nervous, you know, because it is so new, and it will have so many questions that we're not answering intentionally. So that's kind of new for us. At the same time, we feel that, you know, that's the time to do it. So, right, like, it's good to have that dialogue with your fans and say, we're doing this, and then we're doing this, because we know that they want them as much as we do. The things take time, but I think it's good to give everybody a little bit of a roadmap.
Yeah.
And so you feel like it's good to acknowledge it. They're all saying it like, yes, that is what
I like
we're
the
doing.
logo too. That's really nice logo.
But that's another thing where not just, hey, we should announce it, but how much thought we've given it for a long time. So on that original list, you know, Fallout, the biggest, most epic science fiction thing you could possibly imagine. And that's something we've talked about for a long time and kind of picked away at. And now we feel we're kind of, what's the right way to say it without spoiling anything? We are uniquely positioned to pull this game off.
Expectation
Oh shit!
management
It
is
sounds like
important
what
as
they're
well,
building it
right?
off
Like,
of the Fallout
not
universe.
not saying too
Is that
much
what he's
as
kind of
important
implying?
That's the one that
It's
worries
like
me.
what?
Is that we, are
Okay,
we
800 years
creating
after
anxiety
the
or, like,
Fallout
people have so many
universe,
questions.
Now they're in
that we'll be
fucking
like,
space, and then some other cool shit happens.
You know, whereas
I
before
would
they'd be
like
like,
that actually.
we don't
I
know what
like
you're
that
making.
kind of
It's a little easier to go, yeah, you don't. Now you say, hey, you're making Starfield and you're making Elder Scrolls 6. Tell us all about them. You're like, I am not going to. There'll be a time for that.
A long question.
But both of those,
see
you know,
people
particularly
from the mothership say
Starfield,
the
that's
DLC.
another way we talk about tone, is we just want to say the name, like being able to say, this is the tone. just to, you know, this is what it feels a little bit like. Same with Elder Scrolls 6. But we have a little bit of a roadmap in
Another
our head.
big thing
like,
for
this is the
Starfield is
one
going to be
that, like,
composer.
as a
You gotta
base
get the
technology
right
that
ambience
this one
and music
adds.
in there. That is
And they
one
don't
thing,
all,
even though I didn't actually
you know,
play the games.
The ones we're doing
I always enjoyed the
they're
Mass
very, very
Effect
different.
music.
So,
That's great
you know,
ambience for
Starfield
writing.
is definitely a
I think
big
they changed
single-player game.
composers halfway. I think there's been
and
2 or
76
3
is not.
of at least the core
so
games.
It's different.
So I think of it like a
techniques. It's
Mark
very
Morgan
different
and
style
Eno
game
and Zur,
without-
dialectic. But yeah,
there'll be a time for that. But it's not. It does a lot of things very different than we've done before as well.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the past, present, and future of Bethesda Game Studios. But we're not done yet. During our time embedded at BGS, we recorded over a dozen interviews. So if you want to watch a bunch of shorter docs on games in the Elder Scrolls and Fallout franchise, make sure you hit that subscribe button. See you then.
Well, all right. Oh, that's good music too. So there you go, chat. That was pretty awesome. I gotta say, watching those back to back. I think the watch party worked out just right too, where we talked enough and then we listened enough. Because I mean, the first stuff was, you know, the Skyrims, you know, the Elder Skyrims 1 through 5. So it's not as relevant to our kind of stuff, but it was fun. Sketchy Rivet in the chat. Remember Mr. House? That could have something to do with Starfield. I'd be all over that. Actually, I would love the idea that maybe he continued living and he's got, you know, uploaded his brain onto a freaking satellite or something. And the whole idea of the crashed space station is cool too, because it's like, yeah, this is the Fallout universe where you've got like 100 years of space race innovation, you know, non-stop wartime, Cold War time innovation, that who knows how many like spaceborne systems are up there. Like there was the Archimedes 2, you know, giant weaponized death ray, and that was just the one company of Poseidon Energy. And you know, you have so many other Fallout companies. West Tech could have shit up there. Vault Tech could have shit up there. I mean, that was sort of the implication behind James and Mohan's original idea of the Terminal Secrets 4 story, when they were going to put it on the fucking moon for some reason. Yeah, good night anyone checking out. I'm gonna chat just a little bit more just because I got up at like noon, so I'm not totally tired yet. Oh shit, I look at the elapsed time that said 2:28. I thought that was like the clock time. What the hell's that noise? Oh shit, I gotta close Windows. Shit, oh my god, it's looping. Okay, there we go. You guys can look at this nice wallpaper. I always love this art of Twilight. Especially after the upheaval audiobooks. I finally downloaded the most recent updates of that from Forest Rain. Started recording those again, so that got me excited again. I gotta go listen through those because that was the major thing I was listening to at the same time I was listening to Fallout Equestria. So there's like an alternate universe where I was like, you know, headlong into that and making a whole bunch of derivative upheaval, you know, horse fiction. But no, Fallout, it was too rich of a universe. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm paying attention now, chat. So what do you guys want to if you have any questions or anything to talk about? I know I've been going on since it's just us, you know, us guys here. Guys and gals. Yeah, I've been going on Facebook and Twitter just nonstop about all the mercenary goodness on the way, and I can't tell you how excited I am. I've had little by little the art's been coming back in, and all the VAs have done their takes and retakes, and we've got like basically 2 finished hours. We're halfway there, so it's just mainly waiting for our main VA to catch up in between their life stuff and yeah, to stitch those last bits together. So we're still on track. I'm not sure if I'll make the end of the month, but at least for patrons, hopefully it'll be out that first week of August, and then out for everyone a month from now. It's like the Ides of August. Then we'll have a fun chronology of, like, you know, every period of August was a major Confessions release. We had Confessions 4 right at the end there, right before Labor Day, because it was right before I went on a trip that year, a vacation for Labor Day. And then we had the Ice Mare, which was like, I think August 8th of last year. And now this. And then, you know, Goddess Almighty, you know, Trixie Celestias or Luna, that we get episode 8 done before a year from now. And that's in production as well. All the outline and the scripting, and so hopefully it moves along. It mostly just depends on my own life and free time. Because the key is that it's right. It's always the approach I've taken to all of these, is that it's the way it should be. I mean, without like making a CD Projekt Red reference, it's like I really try to make sure that it's all polished and it all fits the way that I feel like the final message or final story should be. So it'll be worth it. I think with each time, there've always, every single Confessions has had a problem. Somehow there was usually one production problem and then one like administrative level problem. So it's like Confessions 1, just getting off the ground was a nightmare, you know, just getting that production together in the first place when I had no support. And then administrative, when the original version was nuked off the channel and I had to remake it with the shitty names and relaunch it again. And actually that relaunch was was that in August or September? I think it was, it might have been September actually. Let's go to the Stable Tech channel real quick. And then there was the Ghoul Doctor. The Ghoul Doctor was, that's when that's when they realized that Confessions was well done and it was a success. And so then the writing team tried to get their tentacles in and start trying to mess with it. And I had to, September 6th, 2014. Oh my God, 4 years ago. And they tried to like get involved with like oversight. And so I had to basically like make promises and use the last of my, earned sway, I guess you could say, to get one last dollar from Sketchy River for the night. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Yeah, so anyway, every Confessions has had some kind of production problem. So it's and they all work out in the end. And I feel like they all, you know, they have their own. What I like about it and what I've really tried to put into each of them is individuality. Every one of them has a different feel. It's about a different relationship kind of connection between like the main 3 characters or so. Or like, you know, each story it has at least a main 2. There's usually like, you know, obviously the speaker, and then usually one like a subject character, so to speak. So it's like obviously with the X-Raider, it was Emerald Fields, the baby, and then and sort of to a secondary extent, it'd be like maybe her mother or the leader of the Smile Squad when she was young. And then in the Ghoul Doctor, you had obviously Tulip Blossom, and then to a lesser extent the other characters there. With the Duchess Horror, it was the dynamic between her and the main antagonist, Crescendo, and then Harpsichord. And then you know, then when we get into like the super long where every one of them's a novella, then it gets ridiculous, where we've got all the families, the families of the engineer and the ranger and Freezy and Chrysanthemum. So yeah, it's fun. Yeah, good night, Bering Kron. Have a good night. And yeah, that's mainly what the stream was about, was those docs. I hope you guys enjoyed that format. I like it. It's an interesting thing, and I'm hoping we can find more things like that to justify a commentary video on. You know, obviously we're not going to go to something like you reviewing every horse episode that comes out, but hopefully, you know, hopefully we'll have as we get into Fallout 76, we'll have more things like that coming up over the months. And then, of course, eventually, when we actually have Fallout 76, then we'll be doing playthroughs and play nights and setting up the servers and everyone figuring out how that's going to be, and that'll be a good time. And then, what else was I just going to say? Damn. Oh, and also more What the Fix, as we mentioned at the end. Because I've thoroughly enjoyed doing those. It's just like a night to screw off and read like bad or silly fan fiction in a silly voice. And I feel like it's got a good like variety and vibe for everyone. So you go through like 15, 20 minutes in a silly voice and a little commentary, and then we switch over to Needle and she does the same, and back to me. And yeah, I feel like there's potential there. You know, this is all the nice filling. This is the condiments in between the nice thick meaty juicy steak layers of EAST Corp Productions. So we lay a big fat slab of the Ice Mare, and then we have some more fun stuff and Wasteland survival guides, and then a nice big juicy steak of the tinned mint, and then some more stuff, and then and songs. The songs have been semi-major releases too, just in listener count anyway. That can be the cheese of this sandwich. And then we have the next big flank steak of the Awake of the Terminal Secrets 5, and then now the Mercenary. So we really try to keep a good variety of things coming out, and unfortunately, we've had a bit of a dead lull in Wasteland Survival Guide, and that was unintentional. That was essentially because Nettle's computer killed itself, and she had to get a new motherboard or something, and yeah, just some other problems that happened. So she is re-recording those, and so you can listen to the very rough performance version of what was it called? Mar Harbor. M-A-R, Harbor, and that was the Wasteland Survival Guide we did at Everfree Northwest. So that's out there, but we will have a full normal video version of that soon, and then a whole bunch of other episodes soon, because we are on target, as we've talked about in the past. So we have another good dozen or so left, or a bit more than that, actually. Almost 20 more to go. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. We have a lot in the pipeline for the next year, and yeah, realistically speaking, Confessions won't be done until probably this time next year, or maybe even a little bit later. We'll see what happens. So yeah, we're getting close, but we still got good stuff. We're gonna. I almost feel like maybe this is just like, you know, this feeling nostalgic, but it feels like we're going to be able to wrap up the series, all of our series, right around the same time the show is wrapping up, and it'll feel like a nice little bow on top of everything. But you know, we got other stuff in the works too. We're talking about James, of course, has his Untypical, and I have a bunch of like normal like novel ideas I want to get to at some point, and we have some other radio play ideas too, and we'll see where those go. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff. It's just, you know, day to day. This is what we do, what we love, and that's the key. It's just doing what we love and other people love and can enjoy them as well. So anyway. Yeah, I guess this is not the video to belabor too much, but yeah, we hope you enjoyed tonight's live watch. Of course, go check those out, the NoClip documentaries that were apparently crowdfunded. I actually didn't know that was a thing. I really do like that concept. I hope they keep making more things like that, because that's really neat and really cool. And yeah, we stay tuned, because we are so close to we're so close to the Mercenary, and I'm so excited because it did have a few slowdowns I wouldn't have wanted, but it's finally going to come out, and it's going to be so great. Doke Diamond in chat. Come on, Skybolt. You will play Fallout 76 because you will try to become the first DJ Pwn 3. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why I want us to own the Nuclear Horse server so that then I can establish myself as the voice of DJ Pony before anyone else can try to, nip at it. Because, you got your no-whackings, but she's the voice of the vinyl scratch. The actual DJ Pony voice going across the airwaves is our 3-dog. That's the whole point. That's the inspiration. So you gotta have my voice. It's the rules. Gotta follow those.
Build yourself a tower.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Alrighty, well, I think we will wrap it up. So thank you for joining us too, all of our great patron chat people on our Discord, and we will talk to you all later.